Hey guys, what if Konoha demands evil Naruto movie? Naruto-sama, you have visitors. Naruto raised his head to look at the young brunette who just entered his office. Her name was Akira, Naruto's personal assistant. She was a beautiful pixie-like woman a few years older than Naruto himself. Who is it? Naruto asked softly, remembering that he had no appointments this evening. One Miss Sakura Haruno from Konoha, Naruto-sama. Naruto blinked, surprised. Sakura? Here. Seeing her boss perplexed state, the woman said worried, I can tell her that you are not available. It's okay Akira, she won't leave until she see me, send her in 10 minutes, I need some time to organize my thoughts. Akira nodded respectfully and exited the office. Alone in his office again, Naruto leaned back in the executive chair and let his thoughts wander. It has been 10 years since his banishment from Konoha, all because of the same person who was currently visiting. They had kicked him out of his village, shattered his dreams, all because he bought back his traitorous teammate. Use of unnecessary force, murder attempt, disregard of orders. Demon scum. You lied to us, you are a monster. How dare you do that to Sasuke-kun? We risked our lives trying to bring him back and you try to kill him because you are jealous. I am ashamed to say that you are my student, Naruto. Naruto, I only ask you to bring him back, not kill him. Do you know how important Sasuke is to the village? I am sorry Naruto, if I try to help you the council will banish me too. Accusations kept replaying in his mind like a broken record, everyone he thought as his precious people had abandoned him, it hurt so much. Those that didn't see him as a monster saw him as an irresponsible idiot run by his jealousy. Tsunade, Iruka, Jiraiya, every last one of them. After all he had done they discarded him like trash. So why are they here now? He knows for sure that Sakura didn't come alone. What should he do? Act like she hadn't stabbed him in the back? Or be furious and try to smash her head in? Try as he might he couldn't be angry anymore, he had forgotten all his anger a long time ago, holding grudges was not Naruto's specialty anyway. But no matter what he did, he knows that he needs to go back to Konoha. There was a short knock. Come in, he muttered preparing himself. The door opened and Sakura Haruno entered in all her pink-haired glory. Hello Naruto-kun, she said with a soft tone that was filled with something that sounded like guilt, her beautiful emerald eyes filled with tears. And Naruto couldn't help the gentle smile that spread on his lips. That was all Sakura needed to launch herself towards Naruto and take him in a desperate and bone-crushing hug, her loud sobs echoing across the office as both of them fell out of the chair and onto the marble floor, but still in an embrace. Naruto didn't mind, he just simply kept holding her silently until the woman ran out of tears. 2 months earlier. Sakura, Hokage-sama wishes to see you, Shizune told Tsunade's second apprentice. I wonder why. Sakura pondered. It's about a mission, Shizune shrugged. Sakura nodded and left to meet her teacher. When she arrived at the Hokage's office she saw that team 8, 9 and 10, along with their sensei were there, she saw her own teammates, Sasuke and Sai, and sensei as well. Now that Sakura is here, I'll explain the mission to you. Everyone stood at attention. You all know that over the past 10 years the condition of the village is steadily deteriorating, we have lost all our allies including Sand Village, Spring, Wave, Tea and Moon countries, and we all know that this is because of our own mistake. Many of them lowered their heads remembering about how they disregarded Konoha's sunshine, everything came crashing down when he was gone. Naruto was banished as soon as news spread that Sasuke was in coma. Sasuke woke up a week after Naruto's banishment, they only understood the depth of what they had done once Inoichi had run a mental checkup on Sasuke to make sure he was sane and had seen the memories of his fight with Naruto. Inoichi was quick to explain everything to Tsunade, who had been horrified that Naruto had came so close to dying, yet he held back so as not to harm Sasuke and the thanks he gets was banishment. But no matter how much she tried, the council kept her from revoking the banishment. All of their ally countries and villages were thankful to the Uzumaki in many ways, and once news spread of his banishment, their relationship with Konoha became strained. Many of the rookies also felt guilty except a select few. Jiraiya had spent all his resources trying to locate Naruto and failed. 2 years later when the hidden village of demons were established, all of Konoha's allies cut their ties and instead became allies with the village. The council was furious at the loss of their allies and had ordered to attack Demon Village, which Tsunade was able to put a stop to, or else they would have been slaughtered. The ninjas of Demon Village were more efficient as well as more compassionate. To all their surprise, Demon Village never attacked any other village, instead established a peace treaty with every village except Konoha. Demon Village was known for many things, their advanced technology, sealing techniques, kinjutsu and the main fact that they were a peaceful village in and out. They were powerful but compassionate, they became quite popular among small non-shinobi villages, and as well as shinobi villages, they had even attempted peace talks with Konoha, but sadly that ended in a disaster because of the council. It was only luck that the village didn't declare war on Konoha for such disrespect, but as it is, their Kage was a very benevolent and peaceful man. Sound Village has declared war on us, and we have no allies. The rookies gasped. That is why I am giving you this mission. I and the council have come to a decision that all our problems was caused by the banishment of Uzumaki Naruto, so your mission is to retrieve him. Again they all gasped and then became happy. With Naruto back in the village, we can get back our allies and have the power of the Kyuubi by our side, Tsunade said. We will bring the Baka back, Tsunade-sama, you can count on us, Sakura said with a determined grin. They searched for Naruto for a total of 2 months, yet they didn't get any clue as to where the blonde is. Their last place of searching was the famous demon village. They requested for a meeting with the Hokage. The Hokage will be meeting you now, a young red-haired emerald-eyed girl came and announced. She looked like the secretary of the Kage, but I cannot allow all of you to enter the office. Kakashi nodded. In the end Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, Guy and Shikamaru entered the office, the rest were allowed to relax in the lounge near the office. The Hokage was a breathtaking sight. The young man looked to be around his mid-20s, had ruby red hair that was long and reached mid-back with a spiky fringe framing his forehead. He had mesmerizing sunset orange eyes and aristocratic features that would make men and women drool alike, the pale milky skin and the slender neck. Everyone present was disappointed that the rest of the skin was hidden inside his robes. The Hokage chuckled, and only then did they realize that they were blatantly staring. I am Kaishiro Kurama, the Shodai Hokage. What brings Konoha shinobi to our humble village? The deep husky voice had them shivering in delight. They all bowed in respect. Hokage-sama, we came in search of someone, Kakashi said. And who might that someone be? Uzumaki Naruto, a former member of our village, Asuma said. They all saw the Hokage become confused. What do you wish to do with him? Hess here? Kakashi asked surprised. Yes, and he is very much under my protection, so I ask again what your intention with him is. The Hokage narrowed his eyes in suspicion and slight anger. We merely wish to speak with him, Hokage-sama, we intend no harm. It will be troublesome if Naruto is under the Hokage's protection, we don't want to cause an international event, Shikamaru thought. I see, the Hokage studied them for a moment, the heavy gaze was unsettling yet undeniably hot. One of my shinobi will escort you to his office, do not do anything that will bring my wrath upon you, Konoha ninja, he is someone well respected within this village. The Hokage's words surprised the shinobi present, it seems that Naruto have a good life here. This will surely reduce their chances of bringing him back, but hopefully Naruto still loves Konoha. The shinobi appeared inside the office in a shunshin startling them. Take these Konoha ninja to visit Naruto-san. I was a male with bright blonde hair and bluish-green eyes, he was pale and had boyish but handsome features. He looked at the Konoha ninja suspiciously, before looking at the Hokage with a little doubt. The Hokage only nodded his head at the boy sighed and said. Follow me, and then he walked out of the office. Once outside, the rest of the group joined them. Where are we going? Sasuke asked annoyed. To meet Naruto, Kakashi said. Hess here? Sakura asked surprised. Apparently he is someone very well respected in this village, Asuma said. This caused some of them to frown. Obviously none of them knows about the Kyuubi, if they did they won't give him any respect, Sakura said with a scoff. Everyone in the village knows about Naruto-sama and Kyuubi-sama, Kunoichi-san, I who was walking ahead, said causing their eyes to widen. So then obviously you are using him for his power, you only keep him here because he is a Jinchuriki, Ino said smugly, like she discovered some secret. I gave her a look that meant, are you fucking retarded? This caused Ino to scowl. What? She snapped. I only shook his head and walked forward. Why do you find it so difficult to believe that Naruto-sama can find respect despite being a Jinchuriki? I muttered so that only several of them really heard it. They all looked around, the village was very different from theirs, the buildings were all built differently and uniquely, they were really beautiful. What is that? Ino asked seeing a woman tapping on some rectangular piece of device, now that she noticed most people here had something similar to those. I looked at what she was looking and said, that's the latest iPhone, released just yesterday, lucky lady, stock was all out by the time I went to buy, the last part was grumbled out. An iPhone? Sakura asked confused. It's a device used for communication and many other things, I said rolling his eyes. Iba scoffed, I don't see what's so special, it's obviously like wireless communicators, only that iPhone S is way bulkier and inconvenient. His opinion soon changed when she saw another man doing a video chat and some others taking selfies. They were all looking around amazed as tall skyscrapers came into view. This is the research and development zone, I drawled. The Konoha ninja were again surprised, an entire part of the city was dedicated to research and development. Oh, you said something about Naruto's office, why does he have an office? Isn't he a shinobi? Kakashi asked. No, he is not a shinobi, didn't you know that? This surprised all of them. Did Naruto quit being a shinobi? Sasuke scoffed, so the dope quit because he finally understood that he won't be a good shinobi. The others thought that this was because Naruto didn't want to become shinobi of any country other than Konoha's. So what does he do exactly? Sakura asked as she snapped out of her stunned state. Architecture and many other things that you don't need to know about, I added inside his mind. They were led before a grand building that was built beautifully, it was more innovative and very beautiful. Ask at the reception and they will show you to his office. With that I vanished in a shunshin. They all stood there for a second. Well, come on, let's go see the dope. Wait, I think it would be better if Sakura goes first, Kakashi said. Sakura nodded. Yeah, after all I am his Sakura-chan, Sakura said in a sing-song voice. They decided that Sakura will go and convince Naruto. Sakura changed from her shinobi clothes into a sexy black short dress and did a little makeup. It would be easier to convince the baka that way, add some waterworks, and he will be putty in Sakura's hands. With everything set, Sakura entered the building. She had to admit that Naruto was very skilled as an architect. The inside of the building gave of a serene yet bright atmosphere. Maybe once he was back in the village, she can have him build a mansion for her. Can I help you, miss? The man sitting at the reception asked, and Sakura had to wonder why every one of these village was so damn hot. Yes, I want to meet Naruto Uzumaki, she said in a cute voice. Seduction was really Ino's field, but Sakura was not bad at it. Do you have an appointment? No, but I was sent here by the Hokage. I see, what is your name and purpose of visit? Well, my name is Sakura Haruno, and I am an old friend of Naruto. You are a Konoha ninja? The man asked suspiciously. Yes, she said quietly. I see, one moment, the man took a phone and dialed a number. Akira, there is a woman here to see Naruto-sama, she says Hokage-sama sent her. Her name is Sakura Haruno and is a ninja from Konoha. Alright, he put the receiver down and looked at Sakura again, only this time more coldly. The phone rang and the man took it. Okay. His office is on the 9th floor, his secretary will be waiting for you there. Sakura nodded and went to the 9th floor. There she met the beautiful pixie-like woman who introduced herself. My name is Akira and I am Naruto-sama's personal secretary, he will be seeing you now. The woman had led her to an office. Sakura prepared herself, this was her moment to shine. Naruto was not what she expected, she didn't expect him to be so fucking gorgeous. His golden blonde hair framed a handsome face, more tamed but still slightly spiky. His azure eyes were sharper and more beautiful than she remembered. Surprisingly, the scars on his cheeks had vanished, but Sakura thought nothing of it. Strong narrow jaws and soft-looking pink lips, and that delicious tan, he was Adonis reincarnate. The suit he was wearing made her want to jump on him and ride him like no other. He looked so beautiful and ethereal, untouchable. But she kept her act together, she couldn't get horny and forget her mission, and just like that, with one word, she had him in her palms. That soft kind smile he gave was enough permission for her. As she had him in her grasp, she could feel the well-defined body beneath that suit and she had to disguise her moans into sobs. Naruto, kind and naive as always, bought her trick like she wanted him to. Well, at least that's what Sakura believed. Sakura, what are you doing here? Naruto asked in a hopeful voice, and Sakura knew exactly what he was hoping for, so she said with a bright smile and sparkling tears. Why do you ask that, you baka? Of course I am here for you. And when his eyes brightened up like a child who got a Christmas present, she knew she had him, hook, line and sinker. Really? Of course, we all missed you so much, and you can call me Sakura-chan, okay? No need to be afraid. How dare you call me Sakura-chan after you did that to Sasuke-kun, you monster. The voice reminded him exactly what she had said that day. I hate you, go and die, nobody needs a demon like you, do us all a favor and die. You do? But I thought you hated me, the vulnerable tone, averted eyes, and he looked like a kicked puppy, a very adorable and sexy puppy, and it took all of her willpower not to kiss him senseless, although that would probably help the mission. Oh Naruto-kun, you know I was just angry that day, angry and heartbroken, I was so stupid back then, I was hurt and I took it all out on you, I really hurt you didn't I? I am such an idiot, she sobbed again for effect. He became perplexed. Sakura knew Naruto could never become a good ninja because after all he tried, he was just a naive idiot who had no idea how to hide his emotions. The only great thing about him was the power of the demon and maybe his newfound architectural skills. Once he gets back to Konoha, they could use his expertise in renovating their buildings. Don't cry Sakura-chan, I understand you, he hugged her tight and God. It felt so good that she almost cried out in ecstasy. Naruto, we want you back, she reluctantly let go of him and looked at him pleadingly. Want me back? Surprise, confusion, hope and happiness, she almost scoffed, it was so easy to read Naruto. Yes, she jumped up with an excited smile, the banishment has been lifted, you can come back home now, you can come back to me, she added for good measure. But what about the council? The villagers? They all want you back, Naruto-kun. She blushed at the nickname she accidentally used, the pleasant blush that spread through his cheeks was rewarding enough. He stood up excited just like her, and that brilliant idiotic grin she had seen years ago was back in his face. That's great, I am so happy. Sakura-chan, do you have the official documents with you? I have to make sure everything is perfect, you know, and then I'll have to call my lawyer and finish all the paperworks. Oh god, there is so much to do. I am so happy, Sakura-chan, so happy. Even after all these years his grin was still contagious. Actually, Kakashi-sensei is here along with the rest of the rookies as well, Gate's team and all the senseis. He has the official documents about the banishment. Everyone's here. That's great. Oh, I can't meet them now, I have a meeting, right now actually, wow. I really forgot the time, I am such a scatterbrain sometimes. More like always, you baka, she retorted but made sure that her tone held no bite, so he only grinned. Well, I am still Naruto, some things will never change, you know, he said. She laughed. Akira, the moment he called, his pa came rushing in, but still held a ladylike grace that made Sakura slightly jealous, not to mention that the woman was gorgeous. Yes, Naruto-sama, Akira asked with a bow. I want you arrange accommodation for Sakura and the other ninjas from Konoha, rent the rooms at Mirage, nothing less for my friends, and arrange some people to assist them in sightseeing and settling in, call my lawyer, and tell him to meet me in 5 hours here at my office, also. Sakura or someone else will give you some documents, and I want those to be delivered to my office as well in 5 hours, okay? Yes, Naruto-sama. Thank you, Akira, and you can take the rest of the day off, you have been working so hard for the past few days, and from tomorrow onward, we will have some added paperwork, so go to the spa and relax or something, Naruto added with a smile which made Sakura even more jealous of the woman. He was always kind to his employees and they loved him for it because they knew that their boss always appreciates their hard work. Thank you, Naruto-sama, you are too kind, with that Akira left smiling. Really, Naruto? You are too soft, Sakura scowled, but Naruto just smiled. All my employees are hard-working people, Sakura, they deserve the appreciation. Now Sakura-chan, I have a meeting, so go and see Akira outside, okay? She will arrange your guides and room. Okay, Naruto-kun, she said with a shy smile and left. As soon as she left the office the door was locked, Naruto felt arms encircling him from behind and he leaned into the muscular chest of his lover with a low growl. Why did you send that bitch here? You are angry, that's why you let that wench touch you, to make me angry, Yes, do you think otherwise I would touch that filth? Naruto groaned as his lover nipped at his neck. Naruto knew very well how possessive his mate could be. His lover let out an angry growl, you smell of that filth. In a swift moment Naruto's expensive suit and every piece of cloth was ripped off his body and discarded in a pile at a corner. His lover flicked a hand and the pile started burning. Avert your eyes if you must, a yaoi lime is coming up. Naruto was now lying on his glass table pinned by his lover, he groaned when hands started roaming across his body. Hayo, Shiro. His lover, the Shodai Onakage as well as his ex-prisoner, Kayashiro Kurama or better yet the Shodai Kyuubi, gazed at his squirming lover with smoldering orange eyes. I own you, Naruto. A hand grabbed Naruto's hair roughly and lips kissed and sucked every bit of skin. Naruto groaned, moaned and cursed, you are mine. The delightful friction on their nether regions send them spiraling into ecstasy, both of them moaned. I won't allow such filth to lay their hands on what's mine. A hard bit at the mating mark on the juncture of Naruto's neck and shoulder. That sent Naruto over the edge. You are the only one I would let live after treating me like their damn property. Naruto growled out between pants and then bit hard on the mating mark that was on Kayashiro at the same place as Naruto's. Kayashiro came with a groan. Done. Naruto stood naked with a pout on his face. You burned my clothes, Kaio, and I don't have a spare. You are better looking like that, Kayashiro said, smirking while his eyes enjoyed the sight before him. An innocent and very dangerous smile appeared on Naruto's face. Really? Then I should probably meet my lawyer like this, after all I need to be in my best appearance. Naruto said the last part with a low husky tone and a very innocent, sexy pose. Kayashiro growled, even the thought of anyone seeing his mate like this would send him into a rage. He quickly unsealed another suit and handed it to Naruto. You had this all along, Naruto shook his head with a smile. It was Kayashiro's suit, but Naruto loved wearing his mate's clothes, so he didn't mind, both of them were almost the same size with Kayashiro only being an inch or two taller and little more bulky muscles. So what do you plan on doing? Kayashiro asked. I'll send my lawyer to Konoha, once the banishment and that stupid restrictions they set for me is removed, everything will go according to plan. You know they will try to force you into becoming their ninja, right? And that's why I am sending Chris there, that guy is the best lawyer in elemental nations, he will finish everything perfectly, and besides I am an official citizen of Demon Village, they cannot force me into doing anything, everything will go according to plan, and we will get what we need from Konoha. So what do you think, Chris? Naruto asked as he leaned back in his executive chair. Christopher Tollins, Naruto's lawyer as well as a longtime friend, looked over the documents. Everything's good, they have removed the banishment as well as the restrictions, and it's approved by the Fire Daimyo, so yeah, we're all set, they've even said that whatever property you previously owned would be given back to you, Chris scoffed, he could understand why they placed that particular statement, they foolishly believed that he don't know about his parentage. Naruto chuckled darkly, we can use that particular statement to our profit, can't we? Of course, even if they've already destroyed documents relating you to the Namikas and Uzumaki, it is only a matter of evidence before we could prove it, they never change, do they? Nothing's mentioned about returning the money they had extracted from you as part of the banishment. Money doesn't matter, but we need access to my clan compounds, our agents are already in place, right? Yes, in the time that the council is focused on you, the properties we want will be ours. Good, I don't want to waste such an opportunity, sent the necessary petition to the Fire Daimyo, and if he disagrees with the terms even after we provide the necessary details, tell him it will affect the Fire Country's budding relationship with Demon Country, and offer his wife a whole set of our latest fashion line, that should convince her to make her husband choose wisely. I am sure it won't come to that, everything is legal and perfect, if he doesn't pass the petition, he will lose face, any self-respecting daimyo will agree, and I know that the daimyo is a good person. But he is, that's why I want this to be quick, I want this petition passed before the daimyo's fool of a grandson is made his successor, I have confirmed that the next daimyo is secured tightly under Danzo's pocket. It will be done, it'll leave today itself. Good, thanks Chris. Hey, what are friends for? As Chris left, Naruto stood up to leave the office as well. At the reception he met Josh, the receptionist. How's it going, boss? Josh asked with a wave. Good, so you free for a drink tonight? Sure, we'll meet at the Devil Palace at 10, I heard they had a new dancer there, Josh said with a giggle at the thought of the dancer. Sure, dude, Devil Palace it is, oh and invite the guys, haven't seen them in a while. Sure thing boss man. As he stepped outside, another one of his secretaries was waiting for him, Kazama Yashi was a blonde man with blue-green eyes and was Ace's cousin. Naruto-sama, we need your approval for testing the new car design, and Sen was looking for your opinion on the latest design for the iPhone as well, he said that the developers came up with some amazing ideas. It'll send 2 clones with you Yashi, I have some personal matters that I need to attend at the moment. Alright Naruto-sama. Naruto created 2 clones and sent them with Yashi. Oh and Yash, we're meeting up at the Devil Palace at 10, think you can make it? Sure why not? Alright then, bye. Naruto vanished in a shunshin. He appeared home, despite being the owner of the Yuzu Enterprise, Naruto lived with Kaishiro in a very simple yet beautiful home. Yuzu Enterprise was the main industrial foundation of the Demon Country. They manufactured most of their electronics, motor vehicles, new technologies, computerized security, architecture, weapons manufacture, this was limited and well hidden, and a chain of restaurants and hospitals, academies were all either owned or supported by the Yuzu Enterprise. And Naruto was the head of it all, I mean, the guy used a 10,000 shadow clone to learn anything and everything he desired. 2 months after his banishment, more like betrayal, Naruto found himself captured by the Akatsuki. Naruto had lost the will to fight, and he for the first time in his life just gave up, Kyuubi was roaring in his seal about how Naruto was a weak fool. Anyway, the Akatsuki extracted the Biju, but it didn't go like they planned. As they started extracting the Biju chakra, Naruto felt a surge of defiance, he couldn't just go down like this, but it was too late, so he did the only thing he could do, went inside the seal and ripped it off, the demonic chakra that surged was beyond control, and Kyuubi was fighting for control, but Naruto persevered, even with the Kyuubi. They had no chance of escaping as their chakra was lost as soon as it was released, Naruto somehow regained control, and then did what he thought was the most stupid thing ever, but oh well, it worked out in the end. He gathered all the Biju chakra and promptly pushed it into the statue containing all other Bijas, in one go, the result was explosive. The statue obliterated, taking some of the Akatsuki with it. When Naruto woke up next, he was being treated by a handsome red-headed dude who he had never met before, and that's how he met Kaishiro. Kaishiro was the Kyuubi, and during the explosion, all Biju lost their Biju chakra, which was what made them different from ordinary demons, without it they were just demons, and all the chakra from the Biju had entered Naruto, turning him into a Biju, but unlike other Bijas who had been driven mad by their power, Naruto's Uzumaki chakra with the natural ability to suppress Biju chakra made sure to purify the chakra in Naruto, and in the end, Naruto became a Biju equal in power to the Jubi with full control of his power. Naruto was then introduced to the rest of the Biju-turned-demon and the Akatsuki, or what remained of it. Itachi, Deidara, Nagato and Konan were the only ones who survived. Naruto somehow convinced them to join him, the group of 14 became a team after that. They now knew that achieving world peace was a fool's dream, but they could make a place where those who wanted peace could live freely, and that's how Demon Country came into existence. 4 months after the Akatsuki ended, they had traveled the world. Along the way, they found many clans, civilians and shinobi who wanted to escape the fights. The group of 14 inadvertently became known as the Guardians of Peace by helping those who needed it. Demon Country was created with much difficulty, but in the end they did it. It took 2 long years of hard work, but in the end they all created a home for those who wanted peace. Every citizen in Demon Country was told about the demons that lived within the country before they joined, so if they had any problems they were free to go. Each citizen had a seal on them that kept track of them, and if they somehow found themselves in a sticky situation outside the village, they could activate the seal and transport themselves and one passenger back to the village. It sort of worked like a one-way Horatian seal. Spring, Wave, Tea, Rice countries and Sand Village became their allies. Of course Naruto knew each of the leaders personally. The Demon Country daimyo was Uzumaki Hana, a 60-year-old pure-blooded Uzumaki female they had found during their travels. They had found many remaining Uzumaki who had come with them. They had never planned on making Demon Country into a shinobi village, but they needed a defense force and income, so instead, they created the Guardian Force, a sort of police force. All of them had ninja training and ensured law. They also take missions like bodyguard missions, carrier missions and such, but strictly avoided assassination in such missions. Itachi was the head of the Guardian Force. Naruto was chosen at first, but he refused, saying that he wanted to study instead. The next 4 years Naruto spent studying architecture from Tsunade, technology from the scientists at Spring Country, sealing and kinjutsu from the Uzumaki, medical ninjutsu from the Kazama clan, a clan that was known for their healing abilities, demon techniques from the 9 Biju, senjutsu from another clan called Yamakas. With the help of shadow clones Naruto had mastered each of them in 4 years. It also helped that he had unlimited chakra, and his brain activity was increased exponentially by the Biju chakra. The 5th year was the birth of the Yuzu Enterprise, with Naruto as its head. All this time Konoha had suffered, but Naruto didn't really hold a grudge. That changed when he found out a particular piece of information. When they had banished him, they said that if he ever put foot inside the Fire Country he would be executed. Everything he owned in Konoha was to be liquidated and added to the village funds. At that time he didn't understand the need of such a rule. After all, the only thing he owned was the shabby apartment. He only understood their ploy 2 years later, when one of his spies informed him about the Uzumaki clan funds. As the last Uzumaki, the fund was supposed to be given to him once he reached an age of 18, but he never got the chance, and they had made sure of that. The clan fund was added to their pockets. Also, the council found out about his Namikaze heritage. It was Itachi who informed him about his parents, and so they took the Namikaze clan funds as well. The money was not the problem, but the fact that they did it. Naruto was livid. Then he found out how Jiraiya had taught Sasuke the Rasengan. What right did that bastard have to learn Naruto's father's original jutsu? That day, he decided, Konoha will pay. The irony was that it was Kaishiro who calmed Naruto down from going on a rampage. The Kyuubi no Kitsune had to calm his ex-jailer from leveling the village. In the end, Naruto decided that Konoha was not worth it, and somewhere along the way Naruto fell in love with Kaishiro. The next 5 years was the rise of the Demon Country, and now Konoha wanted Naruto. Naruto would left them alone, but now that they came for him, the one thing that came to his mind was that it was Konoha's fate. Well, everything went okay, Asuma said with a sigh. They had been half expecting Naruto to kick them out. Yeah, he is still a naive idiot, Sakura said. HN, dope. But we have to admit, Naruto is some big deal here. I mean, look at what all he could. Apparently this Hotel Mirage is the best tourist hotel in the village. You need exclusive permission to get a room here, and he managed to get us each a room, Ino said in amazement. Yeah, I remember the Hokage saying that Naruto was much respected here, Kurenai said. But, he's just an architect, Sakura scoffed. Not just any architect, Sakura, I asked the hotel staff. Apparently this entire hotel is Naruto's creation, Tenten said. You got to be kidding me. Ino said. Yeah, he designed this amazing place, Sakura said in amazement. But he is still just a dope, Kiba said with a scoff. Actually, in Yazuka, Naruto-san is often requested by high-ranking officials from many countries to design their homes, including palaces for daimyos. Whoa. Kiba gasped when Nichi said that. He must make a fortune out of this then, Ino wondered. He does, Shikamaru answered lazily. It would be beneficial to have him in our ranks, Kurenai said. When will the dope come? Does he plan on keeping us waiting? Kiba growled. Their guides had informed them that Naruto will be coming here to have dinner with them, and now they were waiting for him in this grand room. Right then the large double doors opened and Naruto entered, flanked by guards on either side. Everyone except Sakura felt their jaws drop. That sex god was Naruto. "Hey guys," Naruto greeted with a nervous grin and removed his sunglasses to give them a view of the sapphires he called eyes. "Naruto." They all chorused in surprise. Sakura jumped out of her seat and went to hug him, but the guard stopped her. "I am his friend," she glared at the guards. "Sakura, just let it be," Naruto said softly. He then sat down at the table with all of them, the guards still standing on each side. Kakashi gave a hard stare at the guards, maybe the Hokage arranged them so that they could keep Naruto here, after all, they would lose an expert with connections if Naruto left. "So," Naruto trailed off nervously. "Hey Naruto, how's it going?" Kakashi said with an eye smile, and he saw Naruto relax with a sigh, maybe he had been expecting them to be angry or something. They conversed while they ate. "Hey Naruto, I saw some ninjas from other villages here, is there some kind of function going on?" Tenten asked. Naruto looked confused, "Huh? Oh that, you don't know about the scholarships." "The what?" they asked confused. "You see we have academies here in Demon Country, academies for architecture, medical training, combat training, electronics, mechanics and such." Everyone's eyes widened, "And you teach them to people from other villages? Why? They could use it against you." "Well, it's really to encourage interaction between people from other villages. Every year exams are held in each village. The top 10 students from each exam are allowed to learn at an academy. Each academy takes in 100 students each year. 40 students are from our village, the rest from foreign villages. It doesn't matter if the student is a ninja or not." "That's stupid, your village could be at risk." "Why? Why would they attack us when we are willing to share our knowledge and facilities with them? They know that we have no intention of ever becoming a ninja village, so attacking us will only serve to destroy a village that is beneficial to them, so in exchange for the knowledge we share, they give us protection." They all looked at Naruto dumbfounded. "And it's not like we don't have any defenses, our guardian force is there for law enforcement." "Guardian forces, yeah I've heard of them, they're just ninjas who don't kill," Kiba scoffed. "We are a peaceful village Kiba, killing will only be problematic, it is not that they can't kill, but that they don't want to," Naruto shrugged. They resumed their dinner, Naruto was well aware of how Sasuke was ogling him, he could already imagine what was going through the man's mind. "Naruto-sama, you have a meeting in half an hour," one of the guards said. "Oh? It's already 9:30, I am sorry guys I have a meeting to attend to, so when will you be leaving?" "Who are you meeting dope?" Sasuke asked annoyed. "Feeling possessive bastard." "Yeah Naruto-kun, can't you just skip the meeting to spend some time with your friends?" Sakura asked sadly. "Sorry guys, I can't miss it, there's some very important people, more important than any of you to me, and I don't want to disappoint them." "HN. Would you guys be leaving soon?" Naruto asked. They looked confused at this. "Yeah tomorrow, we need to go back to the village, but aren't you coming with us?" "No, I have some documents that need to be finalized before coming to Konoha, you know paperwork about the banishment and such, I have to finalize it with the Demon Country Daimyo and the Fire Country Daimyo," he finished with a groan. They all chuckled at his expression, a certain someone licked his lips in anticipation, once the dope comes back to Konoha, he'll make sure that Naruto will be his. "Good to have you back Naruto." Naruto just smiled and left the dining room, he had a meeting at the Devil Palace to attend. Few days later. "It's done." "Yes it is, here are the documents." "Good, tell the people to start mining as soon as possible, be as discreet as possible," Naruto smiled indulgently. Chris chuckled, "I will transfer the ownership of the properties into your name tomorrow, just in case they decide to complicate things." "Alright, and what about the other properties?" "All done, it was easy to convince the daimyo especially when his wife was vehemently against disappointing you." Naruto chuckled, Konoha had just lost the treasures they didn't even knew they had all along, Chris chuckled as well. "Will you be going there?" "Yes, after all I want to see what became of my dear sweet village." Naruto walked away from Chris with a smirk. In Konoha, sometime later. "Hey guys, Naruto's here." Sakura and Sasuke paused from their spar to look at Ino who had yelled out. "Really? He didn't even send any message," Sakura said surprised. They had expected him to at least inform them. "Maybe he planned a surprise," Kakashi said. "Yeah, that's probably it, come on Sasuke-kun, let's go meet the baka." The villagers stared, could anyone blame them? I mean, walking in front of them was the same boy they had kicked out of their village, only difference was that now the boy had grown into what can only be called an Adonis, and the villagers knew that they needed the boy's help. It has been 1 week after the announcement that Naruto will be coming back to the village, the villagers had protested at first, but the Hokage and the council, even the ones who had actively participated in banishing Naruto, had given a speech on how badly they needed Naruto, so the villagers grudgingly had to agree. Naruto-kun, Sakura exclaimed in surprise, it seemed like Naruto gets more and more beautiful every time she see him. There he stood, flanked by his loyal bodyguards on each side. Hey, Naruto waved, not that much enthusiastic. Sakura frowned but ignored it, thinking that he was just tired from the journey or something. He was wearing gray V-neck underneath a black tuxedo jacket, left open, along with relaxed blue jeans and black sneakers. She moved forward to hug him, while Sasuke stood ogling the beautiful man. But before she could, the bodyguard stepped in front, stopping her from even touching their lord. After all, Kaishiro had specifically instructed not to let any Konoha scum touch his mate. Sakura growled at the guards, so did Sasuke, but imagine their surprise when Naruto only smirked at them and not made any move to make the guards move. So, is the Hokage tower still where I remember? I want to get all of this out of my way as soon as possible, Naruto said, bored. Sakura was confused by the change in behavior, but ignored it in favor of leading the blonde to the tower. Naruto Uzumaki, you have been summoned by the council, spoke the Anbu who appeared in front of the blonde. Naruto smirked, thinking of what will follow. Naruto stood outside the council chambers of Konoha. As soon as news reached that he had returned, the council summoned him for a meeting. As the council called for Naruto to enter, Naruto entered with his head kept high and a neutral expression, his trusted bodyguards close behind. He was disgusted seeing the many lustful and greedy looks from most of the civilian and some of the shinobi council, but he managed to keep the disgust out of his expression and voice. Welcome back, Naruto. Naruto turned to look at Tsunade, who had a smile on her face. Seriously. She was a shinobi, she should have known that he won't remain that naive fool after all they had done to him, but he supposed she also believed the lies he spewed at Sakura. How foolish of them. His reply to the warm welcome was a simple nod with a blank face. Some of the council, especially the honorable Hokage, was surprised by the lack of emotion he had shown. As far as they knew, he was happy to be back in Konoha, but they ignored it as him being nervous and trying to hide it. There was a long-drawn awkward pause, with the council now being a little confused on what to say to the beautiful youth that looked emotionless, except for the boredom he occasionally showed. It was Danzo who started. So Uzumaki-san, now that you are back, we will integrate you back into the Konoha shinobi roster as soon as possible, and you can start your training to get back into shape. You do not need to worry about your companies, as the council will be taking over as the head of them and will be managing them for you. Naruto almost rolled his eyes. How greedy can they get, but he merely lifted an eyebrow at the suggestion. You can do that. The mild amusement must thrown them off because they look surprised. Danzo narrowed his eyes. Of course, now that you are a part of Konoha. I am a part of Konoha. Since when? This time his amusement was clear to even the most oblivious of them. Naruto, your lawyer has all the paperwork completed, Tsunade said, confused. Really now? Why did they ever make you the Hokage? Naruto shook his head, disappointed. Tsunade was surprised and hurt. What are you? Hokage-sama, he neatly cut her off mid-speech. My lawyer only processed the papers that removed my ban on entering the Fire Country and the one against me owning any properties on the Fire Country. I believe he never processed any papers regarding the reinstatement of my Konoha citizenship or my integration back into your shinobi troops. Tsunade was wide-eyed for a moment but then smiled. This caused Naruto to raise an eyebrow in question. Oh Naruto, you and your pranks, Tsunade chuckled, and the whole council followed suit, thinking this a prank from the notorious prankster. Naruto could only suppress a sigh at their stupid ignorance. Then Tsunade continued, your lawyer had told me that the papers for your integration back into Konoha could only be finished once you are here and had the approval of your current daimyo, which is the daimyo of the demon country. I assume you have the papers with you now, so give them to me and I'll sign them off. Your prank did catch me off guard. Naruto's only reaction was to look at the woman like she had lost her mind. He again said. Why did they ever make you the Hokage? I have no papers with me and I have no intention of joining Konoha. Then he smirked at the wide-eyed council. Naruto, the prank's over now, give me the papers, Tsunade said seriously. This time it was Naruto who chuckled. He was thoroughly amused by the foolish humans. It took a while for the council members to figure out that Naruto was indeed not pranking them. Why did you come back if you had no intention of staying? A teary-eyed Hokage asked. The good question, Naruto said, but didn't answer her. Well, answer me. Tsunade yelled. Naruto stood unfazed by the rage of the legendary Sannin. Even his bodyguards didn't bat an eyelash at what was the most frightening situation to the rest of the council. Even Danzo was slightly shaken by the monstrous-looking woman. The bodyguards knew well that their master had no need for protection. The simple act of having bodyguards made others underestimate Naruto. Their only job was to do the jobs that they found beneath Naruto, which included most jobs, as according everyone in Demon Country, Naruto was a divine being and most things were beneath him, and no matter how much Naruto protested that wouldn't change. Why should I? Naruto asked, amused. You are not my Kage, nor are you my daimyo, so why should I? You're not even someone I care or respect even slightly about." Tsunade took a step back shocked, the Hokage's chair clattered to the ground as she bumped into it, the council was very much nervous, and some were outright angered by the disrespect shown by the demon to the Hokage. "Show us respect, you demon," an outraged council member shouted. "Demon? On what basis do you call me a demon?" Naruto asked, very amused. Naruto's amusement was really starting to be annoying to the council. "We all know about the Kyuubi," a jealous councilwoman sneered, "so don't try to fool us, and that is the only reason we bought you back, because the only thing you're good at is being a weapon." And Naruto laughed, and it was a sweet melodious sound even when it was mocking. "I own the biggest company in the entire Elemental Nations. I am the most sought-after architect in the Elemental Nations, not to mention the most popular designer. Who do you all think the famed Golden Fox is? And you say all I am good at is being a weapon?" Naruto really enjoyed the surprise and disbelief. He was careful not to reveal his other professions, like his achievements in nanotech or pharmaceuticals. Konoha might start a war just to destroy him if they know, so even though he enjoyed putting them back in their place, he toned it down. And as for the council, utter disbelief was what happened. No way that the Black Rose, which was termed the biggest company in Elemental Nations, belonged to the demon. No way that he was the Golden Fox, the designer with such high talents that the royalties fought over him. There was just no way, but they couldn't ignore the obvious clues like how Black Rose never opened any of their branches in Fire Country, because if they did, anything that belonged to Naruto would have been confiscated by the council. And never had the Golden Fox boutiques ever opened in Konoha when there were many boutiques in every other nation. They had already known about the architect part, and it took them a very long time to believe that. "There's no way. You are lying, demon," the same councilwoman screeched in a way similar to the pink-haired monstrosity. Come to think of it, she had that particular shade of green eyes as well, but Naruto didn't care. "Suit yourself," Naruto shrugged. "Oh, and just so you know, I'm not a Jinchuriki anymore either." "What?" Naruto shrugged once more. "The Akatsuki extracted him." But you wolf died during the extraction," Tsunade was shocked. "I am in Uzumaki," he said. That made a lot of sense to Tsunade and some of the Shinobi Council, but really didn't make any sense to the Civilian Council, and Naruto really didn't care to elaborate. "Why do you being in Uzumaki have anything to do with it?" a clueless council member asked, and Naruto didn't even acknowledge the question. "So the Akatsuki have all the demons?" Tsunade asked, terrified. "No," Naruto sighed, he was really getting tired of the whole ordeal. He just wanted to get out of Konoha once he had done what he needed to. They couldn't contain all 9 demons, and the statue used to contain them exploded, and the Akatsuki died. "I got saved by my lover, and now I live happily with him, end of story, I am leaving." With that, Naruto left the stunned council to process what he had just said. The council had a lot of questions, surprisingly, or perhaps not. The main question among the male members was who the lucky man who snagged the beautiful youth was. The females were equally disappointed that he was taken by a man too, no less. They more that hoped that he was bi and not gay or just experimenting. Either would do. Tsunade was the one who asked the question that everyone forgot. Was he telling the truth? Most of them had the decency to look sheepish at having forgotten to think of that during their plans to somehow make the blonde there. "He was," Hiashi Hyuga said. "I checked his chakra coil. He had no Biju chakra at all, and he wasn't lying. There were no fluctuations in his chakra coil as he spoke." Unbeknownst to them, Naruto long since attained the ability to fool the Byakugan and any human experts in deception. That was the reason that the Byakugan only saw a small part of his normal blue human chakra and not the 10 tails of golden chakra he got after becoming the Jubi. "I also checked, he wasn't lying about anything, even more proof, his whisker marks are gone," Inoichi Yamanaka, the interrogation expert, said. The council was stunned that the most powerful man in Elemental Nations, money and influence-wise, had just slipped out of their grasps, just like that, not like they had any chance to make him stay from the beginning. Now they understood why the Fire Daimyo had been eager to remove Naruto's banishment. After all, he too had a wife who was a fan of the Golden Fox, and the Daimyo himself had been trying to get Naruto to build him a new mansion for a while now, and had been probably denied because Naruto couldn't enter the Fire Country. That was no longer the case. "Troublesome," Shikaku said, and the whole council agreed. Naruto sat in the small restaurant idly sipping his black coffee. The restaurant was owned by a man who had been a part of the mob that had beaten Naruto when he was younger more than once. Now Naruto was sitting there enjoying watching the man fidgeting before him. News was yet to leak out about Naruto's decision at the council chamber to leave Konoha. So even now the civilians were trying their hardest to get into the blonde's favor so that he would stay in Konoha. Naruto hummed inaudibly. The coffee was okay, but it paled in comparison to the one Kaishiro made, or even the one Akira made. "Anything else, sir?" the young woman in a maid costume asked with a sultry smile and bent to show more than necessary cleavage. Naruto simply stared at the woman, a stare which unnerved her. The woman fidgeted under his gaze, and his glare intensified. The woman took a step back in fright, wondering if he would attack her, add some concentrated Kai to the mix, and the woman ran for the hill, causing Naruto to chuckle amused. His guards were astonished at his actions, although they perfectly understood his reasons for hating every single Konoha inhabitant, but this was the first time they or anyone in the demon country had seen this almost sadistic side of Naruto, because to them Naruto was the kind young lord who always protected them and had a solution to all their problems. They couldn't but shake their heads in amusement as well, being Naruto's personal bodyguards whenever Naruto left the demon country. They were close enough to know of Naruto's past and decisions. They knew that Naruto had chosen to forget his revenge on Konoha and move on, but now, Konoha themselves tried to insert back into his life and had ignited the fire that Naruto had vanquished long ago. So now Konoha had made an enemy that is unbeatable. Naruto stood up with a sigh, his coffee no longer interesting. He could feel an annoying presence approaching, no doubt in order to question him about his words to the council. He thought about going the other way to avoid confrontation, but then again, he had nothing else to do and was bored, so maybe it would be good entertainment. He took some money out of his wallet and left it on the table. "Oh, no, Naruto-san, the coffee is on the house, after all you have returned home after so long," the manager, the very same man who enjoyed beating him when he was younger, said with a smile. I always amazed Naruto how ignorant humans can be, especially people from Konoha. Maybe the excessive yakai during the Kyuubi attack had eroded their brain capacity or something. How did they even expect him to want to stay one moment in this village? That was the embodiment of the torture he endured over the years. "You think I don't remember you?" Naruto asked quietly, making the manager panic. The manager had hoped that the boy had forgotten what he had done. "I don't know why." Naruto didn't let the stuttering man finish. I remember everything you did, everything all of you did to me. Keep in mind, I hold no love for this village or anyone in this village, and I don't plan on staying in this disgusting village." Naruto's cold words were clear to everyone in the restaurant, and they gaped at the boy's audacity. How dare the demon? After all they had done to make him feel better. The manager's smile turned into a sneer, and he was about to retort very angrily when an angry and distressed Uchiha burst, literally, since he broke down the doors in his hurry, into the restaurant. Sasuke Uchiha was very distraught. The Akatsuki was gone, his brother was dead, his revenge was meaningless. All these years worth of hard work to him, that is, after all he ever did was copy what he thought was necessary with his cursed eyes. Wasted, now he won't even get his brother's eyes, which he needed to be able to use the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, all because of the dope. Well, it was not exactly the blonde's fault, even Sasuke knew that, but Sasuke was angry and he needed to vent, and Naruto just happened to be available. The people in the restaurant looked at the Uchiha bewildered and then bowed in respect, entirely dismissing the fact that he just broke the door down, except the manager who trying to figure a way to blame this on the demon so that he could get some money in the name of repercussions. Though is it true that all Sasuke remembered was going to the blonde in order to grab him by the neck so that he could get some answers. The next thing he knew, he was getting acquainted with the tiled floor which cracked as his face met with it. The onlookers was surprised seeing their precious Uchiha get slammed to the ground like an amateur by one of the blonde's bodyguards, while the other stood protectively in front of the blonde. The others were feeling very grateful that they hadn't attempted the same thing earlier, even if they felt like teaching the blonde a lesson. Sasuke glared at the black-suited man looking down at him from his black sunglasses. His Sharingan flared to life, and to his utter surprise, it flared out just as quickly. Unknown to him, the guard was using a medical technique to cut his chakra flow to his eyes, thus deactivating the Sharingan. The guard was yet to let go of the downed Uchiha's neck. Throughout all this, Naruto stood there with an amused smirk. "Sasuke." The pink-haired banshee entered and screamed seeing the Uchiha on the ground. She was followed by Kakashi and Sai. "Release him this instant." Sakura screamed, her hands glowing with green chakra as she got ready to pound the guard who dared harm Sasuke. The guard didn't move. Kakashi stepped forward with his single eye narrowed. "Release Sasuke at once or you will be arrested for violence against a Konoha shinobi," he said with authority. This meant nothing to the guard. A soft chuckle cracked the tension that was permeating the restaurant. "Let the Uchiha go, Karen." Naruto softly said to the black-haired bodyguard. Karen, as the guard was now known, released the Uchiha instantly and was by Naruto's side with his red-haired counterpart. Sasuke stood up and glared and turned on his Sharingan, which activated much to his relief. "Ray, Karen, we are leaving," Naruto said, ignoring the shinobi who were staring at him. Ray, the red-haired bodyguard, and Karen, the black-haired bodyguard, silently followed their leader as he was about to walk out the door, in front of which the shinobi was standing. As Naruto was about to pass by her, Sakura made to grab his hand, this interpreted by Ray. Sakura glared at the guard. She used her super strength to try and force the guard to let her go, but she failed miserably. It seems that the redhead had a level of chakra control that surpassed even Tsunade, and using his chakra perfectly, he negated her super strength easily. Without it she was not really that strong. Naruto was still amused. Kakashi could see this, and he narrowed his eyes at the blonde. Naruto looked at him and smirked. "Naruto," Kakashi began, "you have really changed." Naruto only raised his eyebrow, not really feeling like giving a verbal answer. "Is it true?" Naruto looked at the Uchiha who asked the question. "Is it true that my brother is dead?" "Your brother? Oh, you mean Itachi. You two are so different that I rarely think of him as your brother anymore, and no, he's not dead," Naruto answered casually. Sasuke's eyes widened. "But you said that the Akatsuki died extracting the Kyuubi from you," Kakashi said, remembering what the blonde said at the council meeting. The civilians all gasped. The blonde no longer had the demon. "The organization known as Akatsuki is dead," Naruto answered. "Where is he? Tell me where Itachi is." Sasuke roared, but he didn't dare attack Naruto again. Naruto scoffed, "Why should I? I hold no obligations to you or anyone in this pathetic village." "Dope." Sasuke was livid. Oh, Naruto was going to pay once he became Sasuke's. According to Sasuke's observations, he still had a chance with the blonde. Naruto shook his head exasperated. "We're leaving." "No." Sasuke bit out. Naruto didn't even acknowledge him. "Hide me," Sasuke said again. Ray and Karen tensed expecting the Uchiha to attack their lord. Naruto however was bored and wasn't even acknowledging Sasuke. "Are you scared, dope?" Sasuke taunted hoping for a reaction. He was sorely disappointed when he got none. In his anger his chakra swirled in his palm, and the Rasengan was spinning within his arms. Naruto, who wasn't really interested in thrashing the fool, now anyway, since he had to meet with one of his subordinates, stopped cold when he heard the sound of the familiar jutsu. Find the quiet answer startled Sasuke and his Rasengan dissipated. He gave the dope a smug look. "Are you angry that I learned one of your strongest techniques, dope?" Sasuke smirked. "Oh, more that you can imagine, Uchiha, more that you can imagine," Naruto whispered. "Ray, informed Tsubasa to reschedule our meeting to tonight at 8. Ray nodded and vanished like the wind. The onlookers were amazed by the Shunshin that left no trace, not even a detectable chakra signature. Sakura looked at Naruto. His anger was going to be his downfall, she thought. She vanished to inform the council about this recent turn of events. Maybe they could somehow twist this in their favor. Naruto saw her leaving and had a pretty good idea where she had gone to. Sai was missing as well, most likely gone to Danzo. "Meet me at training ground 7 when you're ready," Sasuke said. "I am ready." Sasuke stared at the blonde's attire which was definitely not suited for a shinobi battle, yet if the dope didn't care, why should he? So Sasuke nodded and both moved to the training ground. It came as no surprise to Naruto that there was a crowd already waiting for them at training ground 7. Naruto ignored the teary-eyed Hokage. A solemn Jiraiya stood next to her. The rest of the council was there as well. His eyes met that of one of his most precious person, not any longer, at least Naruto liked to think so. You mean Iruka stood staring at the blonde, with guilt-ridden eyes. Naruto stared at the man impassively, and the man met Naruto's blue eyes dead on. There were tears, dark bags under dull chocolate eyes, and Naruto could see a soul that reeked of pain and guilt. Then there was joy. The happiness in the man surprised Naruto. Why was he happy? This made Naruto angry. There was only one person in Konoha that Naruto hated and loved, and it was Iruka. Others he was indifferent about. It was Iruka's betrayal that had hurt the blonde the worst, because Iruka knew him since he was young, knew him long before Tsunade or Jiraiya or Kakashi. Understood him more than his so-called comrades at that time. He had a bond with Iruka that almost as deep as the one he had with the Sandaime, and Iruka shattered it with a few choice words. Thinking back on it, Iruka never did as much as others did. Naruto didn't even remember seeing him on the days of his banishment, but Iruka had hurt him more than any other could. Naruto snapped his gaze back to Sasuke, who was scowling at the sight of the crowd. Even looking at Iruka brought a stab of pain to his chest. This was the reason he had studiously avoided any news on Iruka over the years. The Uchiha was hoping to get a chance to get intimate with the blonde after he had defeated him. That had become impossible with the crowd present. Sasuke growled angrily. Naruto rolled his eyes at the Uchiha. "Shall we?" Naruto questioned with a nonchalant air. This managed to successfully piss Sasuke off, his superiority complex not really liking how the blonde wasn't afraid of him. "Uzumaki Naruto," Tsunade's voice sounded from a few feet ahead. Naruto fixed her with a bored gaze. Tsunade was still a mess, but she desperately held on to composure. "I as the Hokage of Konohagakure and the Honorable Council have come to a decision." Naruto raised an eyebrow, thinking on what twisted plan the council cooked up now. Danzo Shimura stepped forward. "We have already read through your request to gain you clan inheritance, both of them." Naruto scoffed at the request part. "It is no request, Danzo, it is a certified order from the daimyo. You wish to make changes in that?" Naruto smirked. Danzo ignored the blonde's words, we cannot approve of it. In case you didn't notice Danzo, your council's approval means nothing to me or the daimyo. Danzo glared at the blonde, however we plan on arriving at a compromise. Oh, and what would that be? Naruto asked mockingly. This will be considered as an official match for the inheritance of the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans. Naruto remained calm, the civilians and some shinobi that were present gasped at the name Namikaze. My clan inheritance is my right, Danzo, none of you have the power to deny me my right, however, if this helps things go smoothly, then I will do it. The council smirked, the blonde will definitely lose to the Uchiha. Since you agree, the other terms shall be revealed, Danzo hid a smirk as he looked at the blonde. Other terms, Danzo? Naruto asked, he was entirely amused with the old crone. Yes, you will be fighting the entire previous Rookie 9 and previous Team 11 for your clan rights. Naruto's eyes widened, the council members were thinking that he was scared and they smirked in victory, Naruto however was thinking something entirely different, oh my. I was waiting for a chance to get even with them and they give it right to me, how lovely. And if you fail, you will belong to Konoha and all your properties including the ones in other countries will be taken over by the council, you will work for us after that. Interesting, you're all greedy as ever I see, Naruto said not really concerned. Sasuke was smirking to himself, with the power he had on the council, forcing the blonde to marry him, after that would be piece of cake and he can get the current husband of the blonde killed. I agree, Naruto smirked, surprising all of them, but most of them pushed it aside as the blonde being overconfident. Then Naruto continued, but I have some conditions of my own. They are? Danzo asked. Add Tsunade, Jiraiya and the 4 Jonin sensei to the group I am fighting, many gasps were heard at that, some began getting suspicious, but they all believed that the blonde had no chance of winning. Then Naruto continued, when I win, I will be taking everything owned by the Namikaze and Uzumaki with me, back to Demon Country, and there should be no protest against that, Naruto observed the disbelieving and angered looks, when he said it like that he was sure of his victory, one more condition, any property I own in Konoha will be outside the jurisdiction of the Hokage or the council after that. I can do whatever I want with them, even build a summer camp for Iwa shinobi, and you will do nothing about it. The confidence that Naruto was leaking had set them unease, but it was they were the ones that started this so backing down was out of the option. You're being arrogant Uzumaki, Danzo warned. Oh, the entire deal seems one-sided doesn't it? So it is only right that I get something more out of this, or do you fear that I would be able to defeat all of your so-called elites? Naruto asked in mock concern. We agree, some of the council members shouted fully believing that the blonde will fail, Tsunade nodded her consent as well, Danzo, despite his suspicions were outnumbered and therefore had no chance of stopping this. Naruto smirked, everything was handed to him in a metaphorical silver platter. The fight will be on. Naruto cut Danzo off before he could finish, oh no, you think I would fight you just trusting your word that you will do all this if I win? Naruto scoffed, I want all of this in an official document and it will be sent to the Fire and Demon Daimyo, the fight will only take place if and only if both Daimyo approve and only in either their own or their representatives' presence, I will never ever do the mistake of trusting Konoha again, Naruto said with a smirk. Danzo now knew that the blonde had something planned, if the blonde had any doubt he wouldn't win, he wouldn't have asked for the presence and permission of the daimyos, this way both parties could back out of the terms of the fight. I will have my lawyer arrive this evening, he will prepare the contract, and once the Hokage approves it will be delivered to the daimyo, the fight will have to be postponed till everything is ready, now I have other business to attend to. Naruto walked away with Karen and Rei, whose presence was a shocker to everyone, since no one noticed his arrival, the stunned crowd stood there murmuring among themselves, most was sure about the outcome of the fight, only a few felt uneasy with what was happening. One Yamino Iruka smiled at the retreating back of his ex-student, he had a feeling that Konoha had just dug its own grave, and he was more than satisfied to know that Naruto would be the one to bring down Konoha. Konoha deserves anything you give her Naruto, it's time we pay for our crimes. Iruka walked away smiling softly in a very long time. Naruto-sama, Tsubasa has arrived, Rei informed Naruto bowing. Naruto hummed, idly swirling his drink. Send him in, he replied. Rei vanished from sight. The man who looked to be in his early 40s walked in, he had light brown hair and dark gray eyes. Naruto-sama the man greeted bowing. Naruto nodded with a slight smile. How are things going Tsubasa? Everything is going according to the plan, Naruto-sama, all the properties you wanted are now under my name, we can transfer it to your name as soon you want it, and our spies have located Orochimaru's lab as well. Good, Naruto sighed, that means I can get out of here as soon as possible. Tsubasa chuckled, you need not have come at all, we had everything under control. Naruto shrugged, I wanted to pay my dear old friends a visit. Tsubasa turned serious. The upcoming match between you and those Konoha ninjas have created quite an uproar. Most people are sure that you will lose. Naruto snorted, that's what I am counting on, as long as they believe they'll win, they'll agree to whatever ridiculous terms I come up with. Tsubasa hummed in agreement, Konoha had no idea what they're getting into. But I believe you let them off easily, Tsubasa asked Naruto. Naruto chuckled, no you're wrong there, the hooks haven't even taken hold yet, they'll lose a lot more than just their reputation Tsubasa I will make sure of it. Naruto smirked slightly sadistic, it'll leave Konoha scarred and battered on her knees. Tsubasa chuckled hearing his boss, Konoha truly had no idea what's coming. In Demon Country. Konoha is as greedy as ever, Kaishiro chuckled reading the message sent by Konoha. The woman with graying red hair and wise purple eyes pursed her lips in distaste. Those fools have no right to demand anything of my grandchild, yet they do this. Kaishiro smirked, well, they only dug a deeper hole for themselves. Oh, and I am going to make it much deeper, that they'll never crawl out of it, the woman growled. Kaishiro-chan, prepare for a journey, we are going to meet the fire daimyo. Uzumaki Hibara, the mother of Uzumaki Kushina, grandmother to Uzumaki Naruto and for the last few years, the daimyo of Demon Country, stood up and left the room, her royal blue kimono fluttered as strode out of the room, eyes glowing with the fury of a mother. Kaishiro followed smirking poor Konoha these two Uzumaki will be their end. At night at Fire Country capital. The fire daimyo, Kaseyama Hizaki trembled with barely concealed fury as he reads through the message from Konoha. Not only have those fools shown the audacity to go against a direct order from him, they also let their greed consume them and almost made an enemy out of Demon Country. His eyes met that of the other daimyo. What do you propose we do Hibara Dono? The fire daimyo questioned. My grandson has already agreed to the match, all it needs seems to be our permission. The fire daimyo nodded, gravely, he didn't understand why the boy would agree to such a match. But, I believe that the match is quite unfair, Hibara said. That it is Hibara Dono, your grandson against all of them. He was cut off by a soft laugh from Hibara. Oh. That's not what I was implying Hizaki Dono, I meant it is unfair in terms of the reward, don't you think so? The fire daimyo sat confused, the woman didn't mind her grandson being set up for a match against all of Konoha's strongest shinobi, was she more worried about the prize? She seemed awfully confident in her grandchild. Hizaki nodded anyway, yes it is rather unfair when you think about it. Should he win the match, the only thing my grandchild earns is what already belongs to him, but if Konoha wins they receive everything my grandchild has ever worked for, it will leave Demon Country crippled as Naruto-chan owns a vast majority of our economy. Hizaki nodded, seeing this Hibara continued. It would only be fair that the risks should be equal for both parties involved. Hizaki had his really bad feeling that this would only end badly for Konoha, but they disagreed with his direct order, and they had it coming for some time now. So what do you think should be done, Hibara Dono? Hizaki asked seriously. Hibara smirked sadistically. Konoha Council meeting room, 2 days later. The council members and the Hokage bowed in respect to the daimyos of Fire Country and Demon Country entered the council chambers. Danzo silently cursed, with both daimyos, present things would get difficult. And that woman, the Demon Country daimyo she looked rather familiar, he was now sure that something was wrong. Umera eyes, the council members raised their heads. The council members waited anxiously for the verdict from both daimyos. Just then the council doors opened once again, and this time Naruto and Kaishiro entered, the council members were drooling at the sight of the two most handsome men standing together. Naruto and Kaishiro bowed to the daimyo. Now that we are all here, we can start, Hizaki said. We have read and discussed the message sent by the council, and we have come to a conclusion, Hibara said, gaining the attention of the council and shinobi. The match between Naruto Uzumaki and the shinobi of Konoha shall take place. Many of the council members smiled in satisfaction, only a few noticed that the daimyo was yet to finish. Only if Konoha agrees to certain terms, Hizaki finished turning some confused frowns. But the terms of the match has already been set, Hizaki-sama, Danzo said. We find those terms to be greatly in favor of Konoha, and in a match like this where one party put so much at risk, it is only fair that both parties take up the same risk, the fire daimyo said. Danzo didn't like this one bit, the other members of the council were suspicious. What do you suggest Hizaki-sama? Tsunade asked. It was Hibara who answered the question. If Naruto wins the match, everything that belongs to the other competitors will belong to Naruto and by proxy under the jurisdiction of Demon Country, that includes any kind of clan's wealth, compounds, and scrolls as well. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Preposterous. One council member shouted. This is unacceptable. We will not accept this. Silence. Tsunade bellowed silencing the foolish council before they end up angering the daimyo even further. This decision is final, there is no argument, only those who agree to these terms shall fight in the match, others can forfeit, and if none of them agrees, the match will not take place, and Naruto will leave to Demon Country with everything that rightfully belongs to him in the first place. The Fire Daimyo glared at the council, daring them to oppose him. Izaki-sama, is this not unfair? Danzo asked, breaking the silence. Oh? And how is it fair making a young man fight against all these opponents to gain something he rightfully deserves? How is it fair forcing him to forfeit his entire life's hard work because of your greed? Hizaki asked. That's because he is a monster. The foolish council member did not even finish before, as concentrated wave of killing intent choked him, visions of his death danced before his eyes, and the creator of the killing intent refused to allow him the relief of even passing out. Don't you dare insult my grandson. A demonic voice that spoke quietly but poured molten lava across their souls belonged to none other than Uzumaki Hibara, the Demon Country daimyo. The council members panicked. The only ones not affected by the killing intent was Naruto, who looked amused, Kaishiro, who had released his own killing intent at the insult to his mate, the Fire Daimyo, who has been spared of the killing intent, and the guards of both daimyo, who were shielded from the killing intent by Naruto's own comforting aura. After seeing them panic like a headless chicken for some time, Naruto decided to end the tirade. He walked up to his grandmother, placed a hand on her shoulder and kissed her cheek, surprising all of them with his approach towards a daimyo. When Hibara calmed down and took a deep breath, Naruto walked back towards Kaishiro and took his hand, then kissed his palm, followed by a mischievous smirk, notifying his mate that he was having fun. Kaishiro shook his head at his mate with a smile and delivered a chaste kiss to his lips. Those who witnessed the scene were having a hard time controlling their emotions. It was obvious who Naruto's mysterious husband was. It was also obvious that in front of the handsome Kage, they have no chance of winning over the blonde's affections. Sasuke, has been present for the meeting, along with the rest of the Rookie Nine and their teachers, could not control his anger at seeing his dope kissing someone else who might be the blonde's husband, but Sasuke obviously didn't care about the husband part. He growled under his breath, which Kaishiro and Naruto clearly heard, having super heightened senses and all. Kaishiro narrowed his eyes and pulled Naruto closer to him by the waist and sent a taunting smirk at Sasuke. Naruto, being Naruto, just smiled innocently and snuggled onto his husband, further pissing of Sasuke and many of the council. You two are together, and what do you mean, grandson? It was Sakura's voice that broke the council out of staring at the couple, and that's when all hell broke loose. Questions after questions were fired at the daimyo and the couple from all directions. Naruto, Kaishiro and Hibara were decidedly amused. Silence. There goes Tsunade again. The council settled down slowly. Tsunade then turned to the woman who proclaimed to be her Naruto's grandmother, a relation he had earlier shared with Tsunade, now belonged to some other woman, daimyo or not. Tsunade refused to be replaced in her Gaku's life. I believe you have some explaining to do, daimyo-sama, Tsunade said, glaring at the woman. I do? Oh, and why should I bother with explaining anything to you? Hibara asked, taunting. Tsunade growled, her anger getting the best of her, but before she could open her mouth another voice cut her off. I suggest you show some respect, Hokage-sama, disrespecting our daimyo will not bode well for you. Naruto's calm voice saddened Tsunade. He was supposed to be her Gaki. How could he defend this woman? She looked at him sadly. Naruto continued, and I will answer your questions. No need to bother my grandmother. Yes, she is my grandmother, Uzumaki Kushina's mother to be more precise. Recognition flashed in Tsunade's eyes, Uzumaki Hibara, but she had died during the destruction of Whirlpool Hanshi. And even if she was alive, where was she for the first 12 years of his life? She came back after 12 years into the life of the child she abandoned and was welcomed with love, whereas she, Tsunade, was kicked out. Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the woman. She obviously abandoned you for most of your life, Naruto. How can you even think of loving her when you hate us? Tsunade asked. Abandoned me? Naruto scoffed, and he was further angered when he saw the sadness in his grandmother's eyes. He knew Hibara still blamed herself for not being there for him. The only one who abandoned me was you people. Grandmother was in a coma for 2 years after the village's destruction, being the queen of the Whirlpool village. The people who wanted the destruction of Whirlpool were after her, so my mother with father's help treated her in secret. Impossible, I would have known if such a thing had happened. I am a top medic, Kushina would have contacted me. She is lying to you, Naruto. Fool, mother did try to contact you, in fact, she begged you to come back, but you didn't, drowning in your sorrow, you abandoned the people who still needed you. Now Tsunade remembered, Kushina had sent letters after letters asking her to come back, not specifying the reason due to security problems, and just like Naruto said, Tsunade has ignored all of them. Naruto continued, then when she did recover from the coma, she was informed that her daughter, son-in-law, and their unborn child had perished in the Kyuubi attack. She requested to see the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, but was denied because according to the council, the Jinchuriki was safely living with his parents, and his identity was made secret for safety reasons. Naruto glared at the council as he said this, they all sweated when they saw the shimmering anger in his eyes. She left the village after that, hadn't been in contact with any Konoha shinobi, and lived in a non-shinobi village for 13 years. Before I found her, she is my grandmother, grandniece of Mito Uzumaki and the former queen of the Whirlpool. The council fell silent. If this was true, then Naruto was also the heir to the daimyo of Demon Country Ascent, the whole Whirlpool Island. The power Naruto held was beyond what they could imagine. And for your other questions, yes, Kayashiro is my husband, we married when I turned 18, that was 4 years ago, and yes, he is the Demon Country Cage, and as for the match, I agree with the terms. If any of the competitors have any problem accepting them, you can forfeit, no one is forcing you to fight, but if you agree to the match you will have to comply with the terms. So anyone who thinks that they'll lose and doesn't want to risk their wealth is free to forfeit, Naruto finished calmly. The council was mulling over the new information. If all of this was true, having Naruto would give them a major power boost, and they would undoubtedly become the strongest shinobi village. They had to have Naruto. Naruto's eyes were cold and emotionless, but when they met the cold black eyes of the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha as taunting glint entered them. Sasuke grit his teeth when he saw Naruto looking at him, like hell he would forfeit against the blonde. Naruto will belong to him whether he like it or not. I agree with the terms, I am not afraid to face the dope, just because he has a powerful family doesn't mean that he is strong enough to beat me, the Uchiha scoffed and gave his condensing smirk to Naruto. This caused a rise in confidence for the rest of the competitors. I agree. Me too. Yeah, I agree. We will get you back, Naruto. I agree as well. Bring it on. Get ready to lose, Naruto, I and Akamaru will wipe the floor with you. Murmurs of agreement broke out among the competitors. Naruto skillfully hid the smirk that threatened to break out. Well done, Sasuke, well done. But the next group of answers surprised all of them. We forfeit. Naruto gazed at Neji and Hinata in surprise. Looking into their eyes he knew that they didn't quit because they were afraid of defeat. May I ask why? Naruto asked curiously. The rest of the council looked at the duo in anger, Hiashi, and surprise. Naruto-san, on that Chunin exam years ago, you helped me open my eyes. I understand that you love your life in Demon Country. We have wronged you, Naruto-san, and we deserve your anger and hatred. I want your forgiveness, but fighting you in order to force you from a life you clearly love is not the way to ask for forgiveness. But they are all stubborn in their beliefs, and uncle had forced us to participate, but in the presence of the daimyo and given the option to forfeit, I can express my true opinion. I do not wish to fight you, Naruto-san, especially for a cause that would hurt you. I hope you forgive me for my actions. I was wrong and ignorant. Naruto was surprised by the mini-speech given by the normally stoic Neji and was even more surprised by the sincerity, but he stayed silent and emotionless. And you? Were you not determined to get me back earlier? Naruto asked Hinata, seemingly unfazed by Neji's apology. My reasons are the same, Naruto. I understand that you are happy where you are. I do not want to separate you from those you love. We have already hurt and betrayed you. I will not do it again. The determination and the lack of stutter were a pleasant surprise. Hinata. Neji. I order you to fight this match or you will be expelled from the clan. I will not let you disrespect the clans in such as way, Hiashi said with a glare. No, and we are ready to face any punishment for our actions, Neji and Hinata said with conviction. Hiashi growled, then you both are banished, and I will put the seal on you, Hinata. You are no heir of mine, you failure. Enough. Hiashi looked wide-eyed at the daimyo. I gave the competitors the opportunity to quit and they did, banishing them from the clans because of that decision is uncalled for. Everyone was surprised, Hiashi growled silently. Most people there knew that his next course of action would be to put the caged bird seal on Hinata and make both their lives living hell. Then my daughter Hanabi will be participating in the match instead of these two disgraces, Hiashi said, garnering their attention. Izaki looked thoughtful and then he looked at Naruto. The decision rests with you, Naruto-san. Naruto looked at Hiashi who was glaring daggers at Neji and Hinata and then he looked back at the daimyo. I agree. Then it shall be, Hanabi Hyuga will fight in the match instead of Neji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga. Naruto looked at Hiashi and the two Hyuga that stood tall and unmoving despite the murderous glint in their leader's eyes. Naruto turned his gaze towards his grandmother, she could see the thoughts running through his mind. With a subtle nod from Naruto, Habara sprung the next trap. If I remember Hazaki Dono, slavery seals are banished in the Fire Country, and as far as I know, the Hyuga caged bird seal is a modified slavery seal, Habara said with a smirk. The fire daimyo was surprised and furious. Is this true, Hokage Dono? Hazaki asked Tsunade. I am afraid it is, but the Hokage have no right to involve in clans matters, Tsunade said defeated. What is the need of his cage if you have no power over your own people, Tsunade? This matter will be further investigated, and if it is true, the Hyuga clan shall pay the price for using a slavery seal. Now that the matter of the match is decided, and all others except Niji and Hinata have decided to fight, the match shall take place in a week's time at the Chunin Exam Stadium. In the meantime, I will have the Hyuga matter investigated. Tsunade bowed her head ashamed. Hiashi was having a mental meltdown. If the daimyo does investigate the matter, the Hyuga clan will be in trouble. The rest of the council nervously sat as the daimyo and their guards exited, followed by Naruto and Kayashiro. But before they left, Sasuke decided to open his mouth. Oh, you know that if you lose you will be under the complete control of the council, and if the council decides that you should leave your current husband and have to marry someone else, you will have to do it, he said smirking. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Doesn't matter really, it's not like I am going to lose. He exited the room with a smirk, leaving behind a furious group of people. Konoha's end has begun, starting with the Hyuga clan. Naruto was thinking about the upcoming fight when a familiar chakra signature was outside his room. Naruto tensed as the door opened. Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the man he once viewed as a big brother. Why would his guards let Iruka enter when they knew that he didn't want to see the man? Iruka was hurt by the dispassionate tone, and he gave a bitter smile. Do you still hate me, Naruto? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Don't you already know my answer, Yamino-san? Iruka was already messing with his attitude. His very presence was making Naruto agitated. Will you listen to me once, Naruto? After all, I was once your big brother. Iruka asked in a calm yet sad voice. Big brother? Naruto slammed his hands on the table as he stood up. What are you playing at, Iruka? He didn't yell, but he was angry. Iruka smiled and then he chuckled. You are still so easy to rile up, Naruto, you are still the same, Iruka said between chuckles. No, Yamino-san, I can safely say that I am not the fool that I was back then. Naruto said scowling, and he turned away from Iruka, the person whose betrayal he still couldn't get over. No, Naruto, you were never a fool to begin with. I know that you are still the kind-hearted stubborn blonde who would fight the entire world for his precious people. I always saw through that mask you wore, Naruto, that idiot mask you kept up to protect yourself. Naruto's eyes widened, but he didn't turn around to see Iruka's face. He didn't need to see his face to know that he was telling the truth. Iruka continued speaking. It didn't take me long to figure out that I was one of the only two people who saw through that mask. Naruto had nothing to say. He couldn't speak. He had always been proud of his mask back then, because he believed that no one saw through it, but now Iruka is saying that two people saw through it. He had to guess who the second person was. The second person was the Sandaime, Iruka said, confirming his guess. We knew you were suffering, but we couldn't do anything in fear of pushing you away. Naruto closed his eyes. He didn't want to hear anymore, but he had no strength to stop Iruka. Some part of him wanted to know, wanted to hear some form of explanation from Iruka. Day by day I watched as you faded, and despite all I had done you never did trust me enough to drop your mask in front of me. It hurt, but I understood. When the Chunin exams were near, I was very worried about you. I found out about how Kakashi was neglecting you and how your teammates treated you, but I never got the chance to change any of that before everything began crumbling down. Why are you telling me all this? What are you trying to prove? Naruto asked. I am not trying to prove anything, Naruto, but now that you are here with me again, I want you to know everything, Naruto. Maybe I'll get my little brother back. Naruto scoffed. You're way over your head, Iruka. Get out, I don't want to listen to you anymore. No, Naruto, I won't leave until you listen to me. Give me a chance, Naruto, please. Naruto closed his eyes. And pray tell, why should I give you a chance? You made it pretty clear what you thought of me that day, Iruka. I don't want to give you or this godforsaken village a chance at anything. Naruto felt Iruka's anger build even before Iruka exploded. Don't lump me in with the rest of this disgusting village, Naruto. Naruto turned around to look at Iruka, a little surprised. Give me a chance, Naruto, just listen to me once. Naruto sat back down in his chair impassively, his eyes meeting Iruka's head on. I ask again, Yamino-san, why should I? Because I fucking deserve a chance, Naruto, Iruka said. Iruka was tired, so drained from all the years of agony he went through. Naruto sighed. He knew he shouldn't do this, make the man leave this instant, because even if Naruto wanted to hate this man, he never could. Listening to whatever he said would only crumple his resolve further, but his instincts told him to listen, and he trusted his instincts. Naruto tilted his head back in the chair so that he was facing the ceiling. If it makes any difference, I am no longer a part of Konoha, not even its citizen. Naruto turned his head to face Iruka in surprise, and for the first time since the man entered, Naruto clearly looked at Iruka. The lack of a headband was glaring difference. It only proved how much attention Naruto had given the man before. He knew how passionate Iruka was about Konoha. Konoha is the village that his parents had died protecting, the village that he swore to protect with his life. Iruka embraced the will of fire with all he had, and now Iruka was no longer a Konoha ninja. Why? Why? Naruto asked. Iruka sighed, at least now he had Naruto's attention. A small smile tugged at his lips as he answered. Konoha had lost my respect for a long time, Naruto, even years before you were banished. Then why didn't you quit earlier? Naruto asked, ignoring the fact that he was supposed to act like he didn't care. Because I had someone to protect Iruka. Looked Naruto as he said this, and Naruto knew who that someone was. I could only help you if I had remained a ninja, so I did. I always believed that you didn't belong in Konoha. Naruto narrowed his eyes. You deserve better than Konoha, and seeing you now, I guess I was right. I wanted to get you away from Konoha, wanted to give you a new chance at a happier life, but even behind the mask you wore, I knew you loved Konoha, and the Sandaime always managed to convince me saying that you belonged in Konoha. Iruka scowled. And as long as you loved Konoha I couldn't take you away from here, but I tried to help you as much as I could, and for a while you were happy, and I was satisfied. Everything went to hell with the Sandaime's death. I was afraid whoever the new Hokage was would treat you as a weapon, but then you came back with Tsunade. Seeing how close you were to Tsunade, I was relieved. But of course things couldn't stay good for very long, could they? Iruka chuckled ruefully. I knew that the council was planning to get rid of you even before Sasuke defected, and that little Uchiha bastard gave them the perfect reason. Naruto looked at Iruka, his emotions a jumbled mess. When the council spread the news that you had gone Kyuubi on Sasuke, I could guess what it would come to. Either they would execute you, banish you or turn you over to Danzo. Among the three, I thought banishment was the best. I trusted Tsunade to have some more power over the council, but I guess she was too weak-willed for that, Iruka sneered. Naruto was shell-shocked by this new side of Iruka. The day before your punishment was decided, I found out that most of the council members were planning to execute you or turn you over to Danzo. I couldn't allow that. It was quite easy to manipulate the council members. Some rumors about how your death would result in the Kyuubi being released, and a little lie about an organization after the Kyuubi, which would attack Konoha to capture you. I only found out too late that the last one wasn't a lie at all. They predictably took the easier way out, banishment. You, Naruto mumbled, shocked. Iruka chuckled, yeah, I am not the goody two-shoes after all, huh? Naruto looked down, he had a lot to think about already. Iruka continued. I was worried about them sealing off your chakra as the procedure for banishment, but your Jinchuriki seal helped out there. Of course, the only reason they didn't seal his chakra back then was because it would have messed up his Jinchuriki seal. Naruto remembered that well. I wanted you to leave Konoha without a conflict, and I wanted you to have no reason to ever come back to this accursed village if something went wrong, and after what had happened, I was the only thing binding you to this village, Iruka said. So you cut that relationship off, so that I would be free. Naruto finished. Now he understood why Iruka treated him the way he did at that time. Naruto leaned back in his chair, tired. This was all too much, but Iruka wasn't done. But it was only supposed to be temporary. I took on a long-term mission the day before your banishment took place. I needed a reason to be out of the village, and using my mission as a cover, I followed you. I couldn't tell you the truth just yet, so I followed in the shadows and made sure you made it out of the fire country unscathed. Naruto didn't even bother hiding his surprise any longer. He had always wondered what kind of luck he had back then. Iruka smiled softly. Everything went fine for a while. You made it out of Fire Country safely, and I had some friends outside Fire Country who made sure you were safe afterward. They were supposed to make sure you were fine without giving themselves away, and I came back to Konoha after the mission. I did some snooping around and made sure that neither Danzo nor any of the Konoha ninja had any information about you. I had a free reign because I had publicly belittled you. The civilians all believed that I was finally out of the demon's influence, Iruka scoffed. Then his eyes hardened. They were all so proud to tell me about how they had made your life worse than it already was. Well, they regretted it afterwards. Iruka's smirk had dark undercurrent. No one ever realized the reason for the sudden fires and tragedies that befell some of the esteemed council members and some merchant families. Naruto was chuckling now. Iruka, his eyes were sad. Why didn't you search for me afterwards, Iruka? Naruto asked sadly. Iruka lowered his head, because I had believed that you died. Naruto looked confused. Iruka explained. For a month everything was alright. You were in water country, and one of my friends was looking after you. Naruto frowned, then his eyes saddened. Mira? He asked softly. Iruka nodded. Mira was a woman that Naruto could never forget. He had just made it into water country, and he was depressed and didn't even want to live anymore. That's when Mira found him. She was beautiful, with sky blue eyes and cherry red hair. He didn't understand then, but Mira had been of Uzumaki ancestry. She took him to her inn and gave him a room and took care of him despite his protests. She was the one who had managed to bring him out of his depression. And he was truly happy then, but then the Akatsuki came, it was Kakuzu and Haiden who came for him that time. Mira had tried to protect him, she failed and the price was her life. Naruto believed that it was the sight of her lifeless body that finally broke him down and crumpled every bit of will he had to live. That time just before her death, Mira was trying to tell him about someone who wanted to protect him. At that time he never understood what she was trying to say. Now he knew that she was talking about Iruka. I had quit being a shinobi by the end of that month and was planning on going to Water Country to meet you and Mira there, then I would've told you all the truth. I was worried when Mira didn't send me any letters that week. By the time I made it to Water Country, I got news of her death and you being kidnapped. Iruka's eyes looked far off. She died trying to protect me, Naruto mumbled. And she is happy that she did. Naruto looked at Iruka. Iruka was looking at him with conviction. The week before her death she wrote to me saying how precious you are and that if she had to, she would lay her life down for you. I was glad that you had one more person to protect you. Iruka closed his eyes, stifling his tears. After I knew you were kidnapped, I used the help of every connection I had in the elemental nations. That's how I found out about the Akatsuki. I also found out about how they killed the Jinchuriki by extracting the demon. I had made my way to aim, trying to find you, even if I knew I was too weak and too late. I arrived there, only to witness the giant explosion of demonic chakra that took half of aim with it. I had assumed the worst after that. Naruto nodded, he understood, and he was glad that he listened to Iruka. Silence extended for some time before Naruto stood up. Naruto walked over to Iruka and pulled him into a hug. "Sorry Iruka-ni-san," he whispered. Aishiro stood at the door watching the scene. He knew it was the right decision to let Iruka speak with Naruto. He didn't know what happened, but was sure that his mate would let him know later. He turned away and left, giving them some privacy. Naruto entered his bedroom to see Kayashiro lying on the bed. The blankets had pooled around his waist, exposing his naked chest. Kayashiro's head was tilted, exposing his neck and the mating mark. His silky red hair spread out on the pillow. Naruto stood there and appreciated the view for some time. "If you like the view, why don't you come and get a closer look?" Kayashiro turned his head to face to look at his mate, eyes glowing in the dimly lit bedroom. Naruto smirked and unbuttoned his shirt as he stepped forward. "I'll take you up on that offer." Kayashiro intently watched as his mate discarded his clothes one by one, slowly and sensually. Once he was naked, Kayashiro pulled him forward so that Naruto fell on top of him and then flipped their position. You're in a very good mood today," Kayashiro spoke before moving down to nibble on Naruto's neck. Naruto gasped and arched his back as Kayashiro bit on top of the mating mark. "Aren't I always?" Naruto asked, gasping. "Maybe to the others, but I am your mate Naruto, you are different today." Kayashiro met Naruto's eyes as he said this. Naruto noticed that Kayashiro's pupil had turned fox-like. Naruto smirked, his mate was getting rather wild tonight. Naruto leaned forward and put a small kiss on Kayashiro's lips. "Of course you would know, I feel better than I have felt in a long time today." "Does this have something to do with Iruka's visit?" Naruto scoffed, "As if you don't know, I know you're the one who let Iruka in." Aishiro smirked, instead of answering he placed his lips on Naruto's chest and placed little kisses. "So what exactly happened?" Kayashiro asked. Naruto smiled sadly, "We talked and Iruka even let me see his memories afterwards." "What did you see?" He always tried to help me Kaio. He never was disappointed in me when he heard about what I supposedly did to Sasuke. He didn't believe any of the things they said. Yet he belittled you for your actions that day. Why would he do that? Did you know, he was trying to get me out of the village. He believed that I deserved better than Konoha. He had fought with the Sandaime so many times over that, but the Sandaime always stopped him, saying that Konoha won't let go of their Jinchuriki just like that. He protected me from so many assassination attempts, yet always stayed in the shadows. Aishiro frowned, wasn't he just a chunin? Naruto laughed, Iruka-ni-san was a master of deception Kaio. He may be chunin by rank, but when it comes to strength Naruto smirked. Aishiro chuckled, but if he is that strong, how did Mizuki beat him so easily that night? Naruto frowned, he wanted Mizuki to tell me the truth about you being sealed inside me. He had fought with the Sandaime so many times to let me know, but Jiji thought that it wouldn't be the best decision. Iruka believed that I had every right to know why I was hated, but he didn't want to go against the Sandaime's orders either. So he let Mizuki do the dirty work, and if I hadn't jumped in and disposed of Mizuki, I am sure that Iruka would have after that. Oh, and Hess no longer a Konoha ninja, Naruto added as an afterthought. Aishiro hummed, but that would mean that his chakra was sealed off, isn't that what they do to active shinobi who quit and want to leave the village? Yes, his chakra used to be sealed, until this morning, Naruto said. Aishiro laughed, there is no seal and Uzumaki can't crack. I always wondered why no one attacked me while I was leaving the fire country, not even the root ninja had come. Well, today I got my answer to that question. Aishiro was surprised, you mean Iruka? Naruto nodded. That guy must be something then, Danzo would sent at least one or two groups after you, Kaishiro mumbled. He made sure that I got out of Fire Country unscathed and covered up my trails. He wanted me to cut all my ties with Konoha, including him. He didn't want me having anything that could bring me back to this accursed village, that's why he. I see, Kaishiro mumbled. He did a lot for you. He only remained a ninja because he wanted to make sure that Konoha never dragged me back. He did all this for me. He has a very good spy network, you know. A spy network too? Kaishiro deadpanned. Whoever made that guy a Chunin? Naruto chuckled. Well, he found out when I had been captured by Akatsuki. He thought that I had died. Kaishiro shook his head. He must have been devastated. After that he just wandered around, only came back to Konoha when the news about me being alive and coming back here reached him. He was glad that I was alive, but still only came here to not let me get tied down to Konoha again, Naruto said. Well, what did he say about what you were doing to Konoha now? Kaishiro asked. That head helped me in every way he can. But now that's out of the way, Kaishiro said, and his hands moved down Naruto's body. Oh, Naruto whined. I lost my mood, Kaio, maybe some other time. With that, Naruto turned over and closed his eyes. Kaishiro laid there confused for about 5 seconds before his libido caught up to the fact that his mate had just denied him. Kaishiro narrowed his eyes. Oh no, you don't. In a split second, Naruto found himself flipped over at demonic Kaishiro hovering over him. Kaishiro's eyes were red and fox-like, 9 tails coiled around Naruto, restraining him. Some of Kaishiro's tails glided over some sensitive regions, eliciting a groan from Naruto. I have many ways to bring back your mood, Kaishiro said as his lips moved towards his mate's manhood. Unseen by Kaishiro, Naruto smirked. It was so much fun riling up his mate, especially when it had such interesting benefits. Naruto purred as his own demon reacted to his mate. Well, it was a good thing that the silencing seals were already up. 1 week passed just like that. But so many things had already changed. The biggest one was how the Hyuga clan had changed. True to his words, the daimyo did investigate the Hyuga clan matter, and the results were greatly against the Hyuga. Almost half of the Hyuga clan, mainly the main branch, had been imprisoned for use of an illegal seal. They also had to pay a huge penalty, so it was easy to say that the Hyuga clan was effectively crippled, but the branch families rejoiced their freedom. The cage bird seal was permanent, so removing it was impossible, but Naruto proposed that he could alter it. Everyone was surprised when the Uzumaki offered to help. Flashback. Naruto-san, the daimyo who was present at the meeting, greeted the blonde as he entered. Naruto bowed his head in respect. Hizaki-sama. Rise, Naruto-san, your grandmother told me that you agreed to help with the Hyuga issue, Hizaki said. Naruto nodded his head. The representatives of the branch family, one of them being Neji, were surprised that the blonde decided to help them, considering how the blonde had made clear of his hatred for the entire village. I have studied about the cage bird seal, my lord. I have found that the seal is impossible to remove without harming the individual, Naruto informed, and the branch family members gasped when they heard this. They had hoped the blonde had found some way to remove them. But, I could alter it, Naruto said. All of them looked at the blonde confused. Alter it how, Naruto-san? Well, it's fairly simple. I could remove the part of the seal that causes pain to the bearer of the seal. Instead, the seal would act as a bloodline protection seal. The Hyuga all looked at the blonde surprised. What all will the altered seal do, Naruto-san? Neji stepped forward and asked hopefully. Naruto looked at Neji. No emotions crossed his face as he spoke. The altered seal will prevent the Byakugan from being transplanted, and the Byakugan genes on the body of a member after they die will be sealed off. That is, the DNA from the dead body would be useless. If anyone wished to use it, that's it. And you will be able to do it? Another Hyuga asked. Yes, Naruto said with conviction. I don't doubt your ability, Naruto-san, but why are you helping us? A female Hyuga asked. Does it matter what my reasons are? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. The Hyuga had no answer. For the record, let's just say that I helped you because I know how it feels to suffer because of a seal that you had no choice about being placed on you. The sentence struck their hearts, but Naruto had said it all with a stoic face. If you have no problem accepting my help, I will be ready to modify the seal tomorrow itself, Naruto informed them and left. Flashback ENDS. The very next day, the seal had been modified. The entire Hyuga clan, or at least what was left of them, was indebted to Naruto. Naruto, did you have breakfast yet? Naruto looked up from the document he was reading over. Iruka was standing at the door with a tray of food. Ah, thanks Iruka-sensei, Naruto said with a small smile. Iruka walked in and placed the tray on the table. The fight's today, are you ready? Iruka asked. Aren't I always? Naruto chuckled. The real question is whether they are ready for me. Iruka smiled. He had complete trust in Naruto's abilities. Where is Kaio? Naruto asked as he finished breakfast. Oh, he said that he'll meet you at the stadium. He wanted to greet the other cages before the match started. Habara-sama went with him as well. Ah, I kinda forgot about the other cages coming to watch the matches who all were coming Iruka. Well, the Sandame and Yondame Tsukage, the Godame Mizukage, don't forget Garakun and the Godame and Sandame Reikage as well, and don't forget that all the daimyo would be present as well. All of them are here. Not surprising after all, this match will create a huge change in the balance of power, Naruto sighed. Naruto, it's time to go to the stadium, Iruka said. Alright, let's go. The stadium was filled with people. People from outside and inside Fire Country were there to see the matches, most of them just wanted a chance to meet the Naruto Uzumaki, who was their mysterious and talented golden fox, as well as the head of the Black Rose Corporation. Those particular details had been made public after Naruto had informed the council of it, after all. No use keeping it a secret when they knew that the Konoha council would make it public anyway. Naruto and Iruka appeared inside the cage box with a traceless Shunshin. Ah, Naruto-kun you're here, it was Kuritsuchi, 4th Tsuchikage, who greeted him. Naruto bowed to the woman and the rest of the cages. No need to bow before us Naruto-kun, after all we are friends, Dari, 5th Reikage, said chuckling, the others agreed. My. You've gotten even more hot since the last time I saw you Naruto Kaishiro-sen is quite the lucky man Mei said, giving Naruto a smirk, then she glanced over at Kaishiro, but the same goes for Kaishiro I suppose, two unearthly beauties for each other, why are all the cute ones gay? All others chuckled. Well good to know that you haven't changed, Mei-san, Kaishiro chuckled. Tsunade could only watch dumbfounded as Naruto and the other cages engaged in a friendly banter, as if they had known each other for a long time. Jokes aside, are you ready for the match Naruto? Gaara asked. Naruto only replied with a smirk. Kaishiro stood near the glass viewing window, well the crowd's getting impatient it's time to start the matches. The other cages nodded in agreement. Naruto moved towards Kaishiro who pulled him into a passionate kiss. Wait till you get somewhere alone you two or you'll give the old guys a heart attack, Gaara said. Inoki and 8 protested to the comment, the others only chuckled. Naruto and Tsunade vanished from the cage box. They all watched as Naruto appear in the middle of the stadium in a swirl of black rose petals. Cries of Naruto-sama filled the stadium, fangirls squealed, and some even fainted at the sight of their idol. Kaishiro only chuckled. So how are the matches arranged? Inoki asked. Is it an all-against-one match or one-on-one matches? Dari asked. One-on-one Kaishiro said, Naru said and I quote, I want some personal time with all of them. The other cage chuckled. That's going to decimate them Gaara said. Kaishiro hummed, his eyes moved to the area where the nobles sat, there a beautiful raven-haired woman with violet eyes sat watching the match, she turned to look at him when she felt eyes on her violet eyes met Kaishiro's. Kaishiro smirked and her eyes widened, she quickly looked away. No one noticed this small exchange as everyone was listening to Tsunade give an introduction speech. When she laid out the terms of the matches, there were a lot of protests, no one wanted their beloved Naruto-sama becoming a part of a village like Konoha, after all Konoha had hit rock bottom over the last 9 years and it was no secret. Ignoring the protests, Tsunade listed out the matches. The audience watched with bated breath as a jonin, just some random jonin with no other importance than announcing the matches, announced the match of the first match. Ino and Naruto stood looking at each other, Naruto looked bored, while Ino had a look of concentration. I will defeat you Naruto, Ino said. Naruto raised an eyebrow, not really fazed by her proclamation, instead he stood a little straighter and put his hands inside the pockets of his jeans and tilted his head to the side so that his bangs fell over his left eye slightly. There was a chorus of squeals and flashes of camera, almost all of them focused on Naruto. Ino scowled, was he doing that on purpose? Posing for pictures during the match, just to piss her off. But she had to admit, he looked rather hot, especially with that smoldering gaze focused on her, his V-neck tightly stretched over his lean muscles, making him all the more delectable. Naruto smirked as if he heard her thoughts. Are you planning on fighting or just standing there and ogling me, Ino? Ino blushed angry and embarrassed, her hands flew into a sign and she yelled. Mind body switch jutsu. Naruto jumped out of the way of the mind transfer, did you really think that would war Naruto stopped midway, his eyes going blank. From the balcony overlooking the matches the rookies were surprised that it ended so easily. The cages however were chuckling to themselves, did she really just go into the mind of a former Jinchuriki who now possessed the power of the Jubi? Well bad luck for her. A moment later Naruto smirked again. Well that was easy Sakura scoffed, hey Ino, just make the idiot forfeit already, she shouted down at who she thought was Ino. Naruto looked at her and raised an eyebrow, then he chuckled and slowly moved towards Ino's down body. So Ino managed to master the mind-body switch. She was able to change the direction of the jutsu even when I moved, it was very much faster than expected as well, any other opponent would been easily defeated Naruto thought as he stood next to the body. What is she doing? Sakura asked confused. Shikamaru's eyes widened, it's not Ino. But that's impossible. Sakura said even Sasuke-kun had trouble breaking out of her advanced mind-body switch and he just broke out of it just like that. Impossible. Ino stood confused, this was Naruto's mind. It was plain, just unending white space, usually this is the place where she gets the motor control of her target's body, but why is she still here? Why hello there. Are you here to keep me company? A gleeful voice announced from her right. She turned to look at who had said that, it was a woman, blood-red eyes and hair, her skin a dark bronze color, she had the body that could make any straight man fall for her, and she was completely naked. Who are you? Ino asked cautiously. Oh, I am sorry, where are my manners? The woman yelped, a hand flying over her cherry-red lips, my name is Time and I am the first defense. Ino was surprised, a mind defense. One so well crafted as well, Ino understood that it was not really a woman or an entity, but simply a mental representation of one of the many defenses inside Naruto's mind. First defense. How many defenses are there? Ino asked skeptically, this was troublesome. The woman, Time as it is called, smiled brightly, oh creator has 9 defenses around his mind, I am the first and the weakest one, Time looked down, but no one has ever gotten past me. Really? Why is that? Ino needed to know as much as possible, every defense had a weakness, creator is obviously, Naruto. Because everyone would die before they find a way past me. Time had a very pitying smile. What? Ino asked dubiously. That's my specialty you see, by coming into my domain, you actually granted me control over your body, Time was still smiling sadly. What? Ino yelled, impossible. Ino's eyes opened and her body stood up. Everyone watched surprised, her eyes were red. Naruto smirked as she bowed before him, what shall I do, creator? The usual, Time, Naruto said. Everyone watched in muted horror as Ino's body began changing. What are you doing to my body now? Ino asked. I will start by aging your body, a year per second, in a minute you will be 72 years old, isn't that sad? You poor thing, Time spoke. Ino watched in horror as the woman stepped back and gave her a nasty smirk. Creator was kind on you, usually I don't inform the intruders of what is happening to their body before it is too late and I usually wait till their bodies start turning to dust before kicking them out, but creator wanted me to inform you now, Time pouted, so you still have a chance to live if you go back out now. Ino stepped back in shock. It has already been 35 seconds, you better get out now you pathetic girl or you'll have to live with your life as old as your father's grandmother, Time sneered. In a flash of panic, Ino cancelled the jutsu, Time vanished as the defense went back to dormancy. Red eyes turned back into pale blue, everyone watched still shocked as Ino came back to her own body. She looked at least 50 years old now, the 22-year-old girl who started the match was now in a body far older than her actual body. Ino fell down on her knees in horror. Impossible, she whispered in shock and horror, for a woman like her, this may be the greatest punishment yet. Ino, Naruto began, be thankful, I let you have easily, compared to what I have planned for some others, this is nothing, so quit now, and I might not cause you further damage. That was a warning, and Ino knew that, everyone who heard it knew that, but she was angry. You monster, she screamed and launched herself at Naruto, for a ninja, escaping a fight with her life and virtue should been the most important thing, but she had let her anger take over, just because her body aged a little. Didn't she understand that much worse could have happened if Naruto had wished for it? Naruto narrowed his eyes, did she still think that she had a fucking chance against him? He felt insulted, his chakra roared outward like a tsunami wave, everyone felt the power rolling off the man. Ino froze when she felt the pressure of the unleashed chakra, then Naruto's hand was suddenly placed on her stomach, 5 fingers pressing into her skin, and all she knew was pain. I really didn't intend to do this to you, but you should know when to quit, he whispered in a calm voice as if he was talking about the weather. Ino fainted and the Jonin proctoring the match jumped down to check her, after a moment he confirmed that she was just unconscious and not dead. Winner. Uzumaki Naruto, he announced. The crowd roared. What did he do to her? Sakura asked shaken, how did she age so fast? The dope strong Sasuke said smirking, the others were not surprised that he didn't care much about what happened to Ino. Next match, Uzumaki Naruto v per second Akamichi Choji, the proctor announced. Choji was down in the arena and he gulped as he looked at Naruto, the power he felt was still causing a shiver to run down his spine. Naruto watched him passively as Choji was on the verge of indecision. Begin. The proctor announced. Choji Naruto spoke and Choji looked at Naruto unsurely, I personally have no qualms against you unlike the others, you're a nice guy and if you want, I am giving you a chance to quit this now, you can go back out, with yourself and your wealth intact. Stunned silence followed that statement. Aishiro shook his head, no matter how much Naruto tried to act heartless, he could never completely become one, he may become a cold-hearted jerk at times, but never heartless. I can't, Choji said after a moment of silence. I am the heir to the Akamichi clan, so if I lose, everything owned by my clan will also be lost. I know and understand that, but I cannot back down without a fight, Naruto. It would be the greatest insult to my clan and comrades, but thank you for offering. Naruto nodded with a slight smile. Just then the earth beneath his feet crumpled and Naruto began sinking into the suddenly muddy earth. Behind him stood another Choji with his palms pressed to the ground. Naruto only smirked. A shadow clone, huh? Smart, and then Naruto melted into mud. Choji wildly looked around for the enemy, a kunai in his hand, his shadow clone dispelled suddenly. Before he knew what was happening, a water dragon was racing at him from the cover of the shadow clone's smoke. Body expansion jutsu, his fist enlarged to monstrous eyes and smashed through the incoming water dragon with ease. Impressive, Naruto's voice sounded from behind him. Choji turned around to deliver a punch without wasting a moment, but as soon as he did, a kick to his back sent him sprawling towards the stadium walls. Sorry Choji, but I have to cut this short, Naruto said as he stood a few feet away from Choji, blank-faced. Choji tried to move, but his body was already caught. Restrained, Naruto murmured, and that's when Choji noticed the tendrils of chakra engulfing each limb and restraining him to the ground. Sleep, Choji, Naruto said before Choji could come up with any other plan, and Choji felt his awareness slip away. The proctor checked the slumbering form of Choji and announced Naruto the winner. That's 2 matches in the span of 5 minutes, the Water Country Daimyo said. Is it just me or is the Konoha ninjas getting weaker? He chuckled. It is not surprising after all. Naruto-san is the grandson of Hibara Dono and the child of the famed Red Death and Yellow Flash, the Grass Country Daimyo said. Naruto-chan's strength is the result of years and years of hard work. Being the child of a Kage or grandchild of a daimyo has nothing to do with it, Hibara said. My apologies if I offended you, Hibara Dono, the Grass Country Daimyo said. Hibara only nodded in reply. My daughter has been raving about Naruto-kun from the moment she heard about him being the famed Golden Fox. It seems my precious Mayo-chan has a crush on your grandchild, the Lightning Country Daimyo said with a chuckle. His daughter Mayo, who was seated near her father, blushed heavily. Hibara had a very good idea where this conversation would lead to. Oh, she's such a cute child. I would've definitely liked her as my granddaughter-in-law had my Naruto-chan not been married already. Most of the daimyo present were surprised by the news. "S married? Dear sweet Mayo," screeched none too gently. The Lightning Country Daimyo tried to calm down his raging daughter. While Hibara was sympathetic on the outside, she scowled on the inside, like "I'd let a bitch like her ever marry my Naruto-chan." Oh, the next match has begun. That had most of them turning their attention back to the arena. Tenten and Naruto face each other in the stadium ground. She tightened her grip on the kunai. She was not a person for monologues and such, but she was greatly disappointed in Naruto for abandoning his former home. She was determined to beat him so that he could be useful to Konoha. Naruto could feel the emotions inside her and smirked. Her loyalty was impressive, but Konoha did not deserve it, and no matter what Konoha had done, she will remain loyal to it. Tenten disappeared from sight that moment. Naruto just stood there nonchalantly. He lifted his hand and caught the leg that would have crushed his skull. He tightened his grip, not letting her go. Tenten frowned, he looked at her, and then turned to look upward from where many weapons were going to rain down on the both of them. Tenten smirked at him and whispered, "Twin rising dragons," before she used a replacement to get out of his hold. Naruto raised an eyebrow. The weapons firing at him in high speeds suddenly changed course and began rushing at Tenten. Tenten's eyes widened as she was forced to dodge her own attack. As the weapons all hit the ground where she stood earlier, creating a huge cloud of dust, she tried to sense Naruto. But imagine her surprise when she found the stadium entirely drenched in his chakra. It was spread out like thick honey, making it difficult for her to pinpoint the source. For all she knew, he could be anywhere inside the stadium. Tenten growled in frustration, but she suddenly stiffened when an arm wrapped around her midsection from behind. "Not having fun?" His voice was husky as he whispered into her ear. Tenten tried to flip their position, but found that her body was immobilized. He chuckled at her attempt. "It's no use, you won't be able to move or talk," he said, smirking. The cloud of dust now covered them both out of sight of the audience. She knew that the dust should have normally dissipated by now, but it still remained, meaning that he was doing something to keep them out of sight. What was he planning? This might hurt a lot, and before she could even comprehend what he had said, pain assaulted her from all sides. Tenten's screams rang out on the arena, and everyone watched with bated breath as the dust cloud cleared. Tenten lied unconscious on the floor, and Naruto stood there calmly. "Winner. Naruto Uzumaki." The crowd cheered once again as the proctor announced the winner. Aishiro suppressed a yawn as he watched the match. This is boring, and he knew that Naruto wasn't even putting an effort in. This is boring. Kaishiro projected his thoughts to his mate. "You're right, I should speed this up. I am only really interested in putting down a few particular people," Naruto's voice echoed in Kaishiro's mind. "The next match is with the Aburam. Do you plan on playing with him?" "No, he'll end it soon." Aburame Shino stood facing his opponent. Naruto sighed, and in one flick of his wrist, blades of wind rushed at his opponent. Shino took a direct hit and then scattered into a bug clone. Naruto could feel the swarm attacking him from behind. He closed his eyes and unleashed his chakra once more. The insects that ate his chakra all fell one by one. Another wave of chakra and the entire stadium ground exploded, sending Shino flying from the underground. Shino couldn't even gather his balance before chakra chains pinned him to the stadium wall and he was knocked out. Winner. Uzumaki Naruto. You really needed to do that much damage? Kaishira thought, exasperated. Not really, Naruto snickered. S here, by the way. I would be surprised if he didn't come. So should give him the offer or just set up a meeting. Set up a meeting? I wish to meet him in person. I have a feeling that head like that, especially after he see all the matches. Naruto's chuckle reverberated in his mind as the proctor announced the next match. Uzumaki Naruto v per second Nara Shikamaru begin. Naruto looked down to see that he was already caught by the Nara's shadow. Shikamaru had narrowed his eyes at Naruto. He was aware that with the amount of skills Naruto had shown, there was a high chance that Naruto might break out of his hold. Before Naruto knew it, a kunai was at his jugular. He didn't need to know that a Shikamaru clone was behind him with a kunai. Shikamaru moved his hands to the pouch on his thigh and Naruto mimicked him. Shikamaru took out a kunai, but since Naruto had no weapon pouch on him, he was weaponless. Shikamaru placed his hand so that he could throw the kunai at Naruto. Give up now, Naruto, it would be a lot less troublesome for both of us. Naruto chuckled and then he moved his hand. Shikamaru, to his horror, found himself mimicking Naruto's actions. It was clear that Naruto had overtaken the shadow possession. Shikamaru cursed and tried to cancel his shadow possession, but again to his confusion, the shadow possession remained. Shikamaru growled. The clone holding the kunai to Naruto's jugular moved the kunai so that it nicked his throat. Don't move. But Naruto only chuckled. Soon the Naruto he was holding had vanished. Naruto now stood a few feet away from them near a tree, and miraculously, the shadow was still connected, signaling that the jutsu had not yet ended, but instead of a single connection between Naruto's shadow split into three, one connecting with the clone that had held a kunai to his neck. The other connecting with the Shikamaru that had initially caught him in the jutsu, and the third one extended into the tree's shadow. Naruto took 3 steps forward, and the 2 Shikamaru mimicked him helplessly, and to everyone's surprise another Shikamaru had also come out from hiding in the tree's shadow. All 3 Shikamaru were caught in Naruto's shadow. Naruto moved his hand like Shikamaru had done earlier and acted like taking out a kunai. Naruto's hand was empty, but the 3 Shikamaru who actually had kunai pouches had to take out actual kunai from their pouches. Naruto moved his curled hand to his throat. Shikamaru mimicked him. All 3 had a kunai placed at their neck. Shikamaru knew he was caught. Naruto had been smarter than he gave him credit for. He was about to surrender, but then a searing pain shot through his body. He fell down screaming. The shadow wavered and vanished as Naruto cancelled the jutsu. Shikamaru was on the ground unconscious. Winner. Uzumaki Naruto. Another match in Naruto's favor, Kaishiro said. Not really surprising, Gaara said. The only reason I came here even when I knew the results of the match already was to get out of paperwork duty for some time. And it would be fun to see Konoha get what it deserves. Yeah, that too, Gaara agreed. Kaishiro only chuckled. His eyes again swept back to the figure of the woman he had noticed earlier. She seemed intrigued. Once again she took notice of him staring at her. This time she met his eyes steadily for some time. Who is that, Kaishiro-kun? Mei asked. You're not planning on cheating on poor Naru-kun, are you? Kaishiro chuckled. She's just an acquaintance, he murmured without taking his eyes off of the woman. I will defeat you today, my youthful friend, and then you shall be back in our home village once again. My flames of youth shall help me win. You believe you can defeat me? Naruto scoffed. You will need more than just your youth for that. Do not underestimate me, Naruto-san. Wrong, you are the one underestimating me, Lee. But that Naruto vanished from sight. Lee, who had already removed his weights, also moved and vanished. The fighting figures were invisible for the crowd. They moved at such speeds that all they could get a glimpse of was streaks of colors. There was a crash, and everyone saw Lee in a hole in the wall. Naruto stood at the opposite end of the arena, not a hair out of place. I see your flames of youth burns brightly, my friend. Such a hypocrite you are, Lee. You call me your friend, yet all you want from me is to submit my entire life to a village and people that despise me. Before Lee could reply or even move, Naruto was there, his fist buried in Lee's abdomen, knocking the breath out of him. Remember, Lee, I have no personal problems against you, but anyone who fights for this wretched village are my enemies. Lee twisted out of Naruto's hold and swiped his right leg at him. Naruto blocked and again punched Lee, hard. I will leave Konoha crippled by the end of the day, and by proxy, anyone who fights for Konoha too. Lee attempted a left hook, but Naruto was not there anymore. Instead he was behind Lee, with one hand on Lee's spine. It's over for you now, Lee. Pain, much like what the others who fought Naruto felt, slammed into Lee. Lee was on the ground stunned, not even capable of screaming, and then he lost consciousness. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd roared, though most were a little confused at what exactly Naruto had done to Lee, since no external injuries were seen. Aishiro stood up gracefully from his seat. Gaara looked at him with an eyebrow raised. "Where are you going?" Mei asked. "I have some business that needs attending." Aishiro didn't explain further and the cages didn't push, as they trusted him. Kaishiro once again looked at the violet-eyed raven-haired beauty among the nobles and slowly made his way over. Naruto Uzumaki v per second Kiba and Izuka begin. "Get ready boy, we are winning this match no matter what." Akamaru acknowledged Kiba's words with a bark. The K9 knew that the chances of them winning the match was very low, but he would stand by his master till the end, even though said master was very good at digging his own grave with his attitude. Akamaru cold just let him die. "As cocky as ever, eh Kiba?" Naruto asked smirking. Kiba's answer was a yell of man-beast mimicry and suddenly there was two feral-looking Kibas. "Have you learned no new tricks yet? All of you just use same old techniques," Naruto answered bored. "Well show you what we can do," Kiba yelled getting ready for a jutsu. But Naruto had other plans as he turned his eyes to the second Kiba and spoke, "Stay out of this one, let the puppy fight this match on his own." As soon as he finished, vines erupted from the ground and coiled around that Kiba, immobilizing him completely and right after that Kiba turned into Akamaru who was tangled in the vines with no escape. "Akamaru." The original who was standing at the side yelled. "Down puppy, your master will be safe, what? Too afraid to do anything without your dear sweet Akamaru?" Naruto taunted Kiba who growled. "You bastard." Kiba performed a fang over fang, much weaker than when with Akamaru, as the spinning Kiba approached Naruto stood there not even trying to dodge. By now, the rest of the ninjas knew not to underestimate the blonde, so they simply watched carefully to see what he would do, and Naruto didn't disappoint them. As soon as Kiba was near, he extended his hand, and the tornado crashed into an invisible wall. As Naruto flexed his hand, Kiba found himself thrown back. "It's a barrier," Kakashi said, his Sharingan analyzing the barrier Naruto cast without any seals. "So he knows sealing arts or is it some type of jutsu?" Asuma asked. "Not sure, but he has no seals on him as far as I can see." "How strong is it? Can you tell?" Kurenai asked. "Didn't get enough time to check, it vanished," Kakashi mumbled lowering his headband over his Sharingan. "I don't think Kiba would win this one Kurenai." "Have some faith Kakashi," she said grimly, although she knew it was the truth. Where did he get the time to build an entire business empire in his name and learn to become so strong? Asuma asked taking a puff of his cigarette. "We're talking about the boy who can multiply himself into thousands of copies, Asuma. If he figured out the secret behind shadow clones, which I'm pretty sure he did, then there is no telling how much he accomplished in 10 years, Kakashi said. They all watched as Naruto utterly trashed the Inuzuka who had once again charged blindly at the blonde. They all shook their head at his brashness, how he became a jonin they would never understand. And we still don't know the limits of his strength. It is quite obvious that none of the rookie 9, who were well on their way to Jonin, could stand 5 minutes against him. For all we know he might have already surpassed all of us." Tsunade spoke sadly staring at her once precious boy who now promised to crush her home. In the background Sasuke scoffed, standing beside him, Sakura looked offended in her master's lack of faith. "Shushu, you forget that he no longer has the Kyuubi, even if he is as strong as you say, there is no way he could win, not after fighting all of us back to back, that was the plan was it not? Even if he wins now and gets everything from the losers, by the end he would be tired and it would be an easy win for us, and by defeating him, everything that he won till then would ultimately be returned to us. Unlike the rest of those fools we all are A-ranked and S-ranked shinobi in Anbu, with 2 of them being the Sannin, and 1 ex-Anbu commander Hanabi finished looking at the rest of them. She was very confident in her ability to win, after all she was an A-rank shinobi in the bingo books, whereas all those who fought Naruto till now were barely B-ranked. "Our victory is sure, Tsunade-sama," like Kurenai said, "have some faith." Tsunade looked down at the arena, where Naruto stood over the now defeated Kiba, his appearance as immaculate and relaxed as he had been when it started, and Tsunade found it hard to find that faith she needed. "Winner Naruto Uzumaki. What is he doing to all of them?" Kurenai asked, "Is it a Jinjutsu?" She, like everyone, had seen her students scream in pain after Naruto just touched him, and just like the others Kiba passed out without any physical wounds. "I'm not sure, whatever he is doing to them, all I can see is bright flash of chakra that is actually quite painful to look at with the Sharingan and probably the Byakugan too." They all looked at Hanabi who had long since deactivated her Byakugan after the first time Naruto used the technique on Ino, and like Kakashi had said it was very painful, and she had found herself gritting her teeth in pain and eyes watering profusely as her vision blurred. She hadn't bothered to activate the Byakugan to watch the fights that followed. It leaves them all perfectly healthy, at least physically, except that is, poor girl, Kurenai said. There must be a way to reverse it, right, Shishu? Sakura asked, worried for her friend who had become older than her mother just like that. Sadly, Tsunade shook her head. Other than wearing a genjutsu like Tsunade's, there was no way for Ino to look young again. Naruto Uzumaki v per second Hanabi Hyuga. Hanabi disappeared from there and appeared on the stadium with a silent promise that this will be the last match of the day. Ah, the ex-Hyuga princess, heard that you wanted to fight me so badly. Naruto smiled at the girl who looked at him with narrowed eyes. You will pay for dragging the Hyuga main branch down. After this fight is over, you will be nothing more than a guard dog for Konoha once again. Naruto chuckled, win first, princess, then he'll believe you. Begin. You are in my range of divination, Hanabi declared, smirking as she entered her stance. She had intentionally shunned Ed that close to Naruto. So? It's not like it will do you any good, Naruto smirked. Hanabi glared and moved forward, 8 trigrams. 64 palms. Devastation. Her hands moved as she aimed each strike at Naruto's chakra points, and to her utter surprise, he blocked every single one of them. She moved faster in a frenzy to confuse him, but he simply kept up with her. Her personally modified gentle fist style was picked apart before her very own eyes. It was impossible. Once caught in the technique, the victim's speed and reaction should have reduced drastically, but if he was able to keep up with her at her maximum speed, and with his own speed reduced to about only a 100th of the original, she feared how fast he truly is, truly, the son of the fastest man in history, but unlike his father, Naruto's speed was just that. Pure speed with no technique to assist. As her technique neared the end of the final 128 strikes, she changed her tactic, bent her legs to change her footing and twisted her, just seconds before the final strike, and called out heavenly rotation. Naruto had no time to react before the full brunt of the spinning chakra dome crashed into him at a close range. Hanabi cancelled her technique just as quickly as she activated and sped through hand signs, not wanting to give Naruto any reprieve that might cost her the victory. Earth style. Dragon dance. Multiple dragons made of stone and dirt rushed at Naruto. The impact made a huge cloud of dust, but Hanabi kept vigilant with her Byakugan in full focus. She sensed the presence behind her far too late, and for all her efforts, she got a kick to the back that sent her crashing forward before she regained her balance and swiftly attacked him with a gentle fist to the heart. Her hand was caught way before she could make contact, and with a sickening crunch, she found herself cradling a broken wrist and biting back the pain it brought. Her left hand made another attempt at a gentle fist strike, but that hand was caught at the elbow by a quick jab, and to her horror, she felt the chakra flow to her left hand shut down completely. In a way that even the gentle fist could accomplish. She was forced out of her shock by a knee to her stomach, followed by an uppercut that she was sure cracked her jaw. The backhand that sends her crashing to the ground was no better. And that's how Hanabi Hyuga found herself crumpled at the feet of the man she swore to defeat. Naruto looked down at the woman at his feet. Naruto frowned when the proctor began announcing the victor. He didn't mean to end it just like that. Winner? No. Everyone looked at Hanabi, who got back to her feet. I can still fight. As the girl glared at him with contempt, Naruto found himself chuckling. You Hyugas and your pride, so foolish, but I'm glad you got back up. The Hyuga narrowed her eyes at the blonde. She gingerly moved into her gentle fist stance once again, managing as much as she could with a broken wrist and a chakra-blocked arm. Defense was her only bet at the moment until she could find a weakness that is. Naruto tilted his head and observed her for a moment before suddenly he was in front of her, a hand at her throat and then pain. Hanabi screamed as she crumbled to the floor. She felt like she had swallowed fire, and now it was burning her insides, especially her eyes. Naruto had done the same mysterious technique, and the flash of chakra at such a close range was more than her poor eyes could handle, not to mention the pain her body was in. Winner? Naruto Uzumaki. The unconscious Hyuga was moved out of the stadium by Medic Nin. Naruto saw Hinata among the Medic Nin. He locked eyes with her. She'll survive, he said quietly, but Hinata understood him anyway. Hanabi might have been a spoiled brat, but she was still her sister. Hinata mumbled a tearful thank you as she walked away with the other Medic Nin carrying Hanabi. Earlier, the nobles greeted the Hokage that entered the area reserved for nobles. Hokage-sama, what brings you to the nobles? One old man who was a noble from Sand greeted Kaishiro respectfully. If you don't mind, I would like to have a word with one of you. Oh? And who would that be? The man questioned. Many of the unmarried noblewomen and even some married ones hoped that it was them that the handsome and seemingly young Kage wanted to talk with. With Lady Yamini. Lady Yamini, you say? I was not aware of a Lady Yamini among us, the old man trailed of confused. Just then, a raven-haired beauty with sparkling violet orbs stood up in her regal silk kimono. What business do you have with me, Hokage-sama? The woman's tone was sultry, and many of the women looked at her in jealousy when Kaishiro offered her a charming smile. Milady, I would like to invite you to dinner with me and my husband this evening to discuss some political matters regarding a potential alliance between us. Husband. Almost all nobles screeched internally. Dinner with you and your husband, you say, such confidence that your husband will still be with you come evening, Yamini said, gazing at Naruto fighting Hanabi down below. The nobles who figured out who the husband was were even more disappointed at having lost a chance at both Naruto and Kaishiro. My confidence is not unfounded, shall I be expecting humility? Yamini narrowed her eyes in thought, then nodded stiffly and placed another sultry smile on her lips. Would that be all? Kaishiro nodded with a polite smile and left. As he left, Yamana's eyes narrowed at his back. Potential alliance, you say? I hope you know who you are dealing with, Kaishiro Kazama and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. There was no conversation between them as they didn't know each other and the fight started immediately. Naruto dodged the ink lions as Sai had taken to the sky on his ink bird. He slammed his palm onto one of them and the lions exploded into a shower of ink. Surprisingly, not one drop fell on Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he saw the ink seeping into the ground but had no time to ponder on it before another lion attacked him. Sai made more ink lions from on top of his bird and they jumped down to the arena. Naruto narrowed his eyes and made 10 clones, all of them began tearing apart ink animals. That boy is planning something, Inoki said looking at Sai who was hovering above the arena. Indeed, but what? A asked. That ink, it is seeping into the ground and just disappearing. It's some kind of trap, Kuritsuchi said. I have a bad feeling about this, Gaara said looking down at the arena. Well, you are not the only one, Kaishiro, who had appeared back inside the cage box, said. It's over for you now, boy, Danzo thought smirking down at the arena. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the ink animals that began melting into ink on their own. He stepped back suspiciously as the creature he was fighting, too, melted down. What are you planning? He thought, looking at Sai who was now at a visible height. The ink had all vanished into the ground, something about the whole scenario unsettled him. Suddenly there were seals all around him, they appeared quickly as the ink suddenly began streaming out of the ground, forming strokes of kanji. Naruto couldn't get a good look at the seal, since it was massive and he was trapped in the center, but he did recognize the kanji he did get a look at and had a good guess what the seal was for. The seal array began to glow and soon it was glowing a bright red color. Naruto felt the seal immobilizing him and draining his chakra at a steady rate. He wasn't worried about chakra depletion, simply because he had so much chakra that he knew the seal would get overpowered and blow up, but that didn't mean he would be careless, nor would he let the people find out that particular detail about his chakra capacity. He would need less than a quarter of his chakra to overpower the seal, but overpowering the seal meant people getting an idea of how much chakra he had, because the chakra needed to overpower the seal is well past any human's limit. The clones all began popping one by one, the entire arena was now one gigantic seal array with the original Naruto trapped inside. Naruto struggled for a minute, then calmed down and observed the seal more, a suppression seal capable subduing even a Biju, if only for a brief period of time, and the chakra-draining seal, containment seal, the list goes on. At best, the seal could take out a 5-tailed Biju, impressive but not good enough. Naruto began looking for that one particular seal that would be say downfall. Everyone was looking at the arena in awe. Sai new ceiling. Sakura exclaimed looking at Kakashi and Sasuke, both of them didn't answer her and Kakashi discreetly eyed Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked pensive knowing what was coming next, it was his seal that was going to be Naruto's downfall. He was both relieved and guilty at the same time. He looked over at Tsunade who refused to meet his eyes, but he knew that it was guilt that was consuming her, the way she grits her teeth to stop herself from shouting out at the unfairness of it all. He closed his eyes, it was unfair and he knew that better than anyone, after all, he was the one who gave Minato the fucking idea to use his kid as a Jinchuriki, he was the one who convinced his student that his son would be the child of prophecy, he was the worthless godfather that abandoned his godson for 12 fucking years, and after all that. He was the first one to give up on Naruto when Sasuke accused him, and he knew he didn't even give the kid a chance to explain, just because the prophecy had changed. The toads told him that the fucking prophecy that he sacrificed everything for had changed. Naruto was no longer the child of prophecy that would save the world, because there might not be a child of prophecy. To begin with, wasn't that just great? And who paid the price for the change in the prophecy? Naruto did. Jiraiya took his anger out on the kid that didn't even have an idea about the prophecy, wasn't that the noblest thing to do? Now after all the crap they had put the kid through, his village wanted him back and Jiraiya was helping his village. Maybe it wouldn't hurt so much if he didn't know that they were cheating. No matter how many times he told himself that cheating was part of being a ninja, he couldn't help but feel guilty. Naruto was set up for a failure from the beginning. Jiraiya. He turned to look at Tsunade who called out his name. I am forfeiting. Everyone present looked at their cage with wide eyes. Sensei, what the hell are you talking about now? Sakura shouted. I can't. Tsunade looked down, and all of them saw the tears brimming in her eyes. Jiraiya felt like he couldn't even face her anymore. I can't do this, he is I just can't. Tsunade. Jiraiya spoke sternly, his face set in a grim expression. I believe that forfeit is not an option for you. And why the hell is that? She turned enraged eyes to him, and Jiraiya ruthlessly squashed the urge to shrink away from her fury, and most of all, her pain. You are the Hokage of Konoha. Your defeat means a lot more than just the loss of your inheritance and money, it means the loss of Konoha, and you can't do that to your village. Tsunade laughed, and it was a bitter, broken sound that all of them cringed. My village. My village. She laughed again, and some of them were worried that their Hokage was losing it. The person who made this my village is fighting against me and my village right now. Jiraiya. She might as well have roared it out for all the impact those silent words had. If Naruto could convince me once to join the village I swore away from and to take up a position I despised, then he doesn't need words to convince me to give it all away. Everyone looked at her outraged. There were protests all around, but Jiraiya remained silent. Finally, he spoke. What if he loses? What if he loses and you aren't here to be his Hokage? He'll win, Tsunade said with conviction. Why was she defending him now? She thought she had chances to defend him earlier, so why was she doing it now? Because earlier she believed that if Naruto would just come back to the village they could fix everything, fix their broken relationship into something similar to what it was before all this, but then everything went out of hand and she forced herself to believe that this was the right path. But every interaction between Naruto and his past friends during the matches proved her wrong. Whatever they had before was ruined, dead, and this course of action was only mangling the corpse further. In the end, their words hit home, and her lies that kept her from seeing things clearly were ripped away. Hanabi was right. If Naruto ever comes back to Konoha, a guard dog is all he'll ever be. He had a life out there, a family, and that thought hit her hard because once upon a time she was a part of that family. With all these realizations came a kind of numbness that she couldn't push away. She wished that she had a bottle of sake with her. That's the only way she knew how to deal with all this. Jiraiya's words brought her out of her depressing thoughts, and his tone and the look on his face set off warning bells in her head. He won't, Jiraiya said with enough conviction to match his blooming guilt. He has done something, her mind warned. She gave Jiraiya a suspicious look. What did you do? Jiraiya was silent. Impossible, Naruto thought. Sai shouldn't have enough chakra to maintain this seal. His eyes narrowed. Already the seal had drained about half a tael worth of chakra. It was no big deal to him, but he wasn't going to show it. Half a tael worth of chakra was a big deal for all normal ninja, and people shouldn't be finding out just how normal Naruto is. And the seal, unless Konoha had a new seal master all along, there is no way that Sai could manage this seal without help. Of course, Sai had help. Naruto was no fool, and he could recognize the work he was seeing for who made it. Naruto leaned down on one knee just for show and grunted like he was in pain. Maybe he should try acting as well since he is so good at it. There were gasps from his fans when he went down and applause from the Konohans. Naruto suppressed a smirk as he spotted the seal he was looking for. Time's up, Sai. Biting down on his thumb he broke the skin and stopped his healing from interfering with the flow of blood. He brought the bloody finger to the ground. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 and 4. Sealing was such a delicate art, a single stroke can mean a lot of difference. The restriction seal that had kept Naruto trapped in the seal had been disabled. Not wasting any time, Naruto started running towards the seal he spotted. In a moment he was crouched down next to the master seal, which was basically what kept the entire seal array together. What's he doing now? Jiraiya's eyes narrowed while everyone else looked at the display with curiosity. Tsunade was giving him an accusing look, and he knew that she had figured it out. The entire stadium was rigged from the beginning, and Jiraiya was the one who did it. Sai looked down at what Naruto was doing. He had managed to get freedom of movement within the seal, and that was not good, but it wouldn't be long before that Naruto was entirely drained, and it wasn't like Sai could do anything. He cannot attack Naruto without risking the seal array absorbing the chakra he used to create the attack. And Jiraiya-sama and Danzo-sama had warned him not go anywhere near the seal array once it was activated, so he had nothing that he could do but watch. As he watched, Naruto finished whatever he was doing and stood up. Unease made itself known when he noticed that Naruto looked entirely too smug. Naruto made some changes in the master seal and stood up more relaxed. He looked up at the hovering Sai and gave a smirk. Everyone was watching with bated breath to see what would happen. Jiraiya cursed when the seal's glow died down. He felt a tug at his chakra, and his eyes widened when the array began glowing again, but this time it was brilliant white in color, so white that it was almost blinding. Jiraiya panicked when the tug on his chakra became more forceful. Naruto reversed it. He reversed the fucking seal. Without giving it a second thought he tugged back his sleeves and pulled out a kunai. In his inner wrist, there was a seal, the seal that connected him to the seal on the arena. He quickly slashed the kunai through the middle of the seal, then used his blood to draw a counter seal. He sighed when the tug vanished, but looking down at the arena he could see Naruto shaking his head. Jiraiya knew that disappointment was meant for him, he had failed once again. All around him the ninjas present gave him varying looks, he pretended not to see the understanding that dawned on their faces and the contempt on Tsunade's, but ignoring it didn't make it disappear. Naruto smiled ruefully, he knew there was something strange about the stadium from the beginning, but he couldn't figure out what. The base for the seal had already been set up before the matches, Sai only initiated it, it was controlled by Jiraiya and powered by the chakra storage tanks beneath the arena floor. He hadn't paid much attention to the chakra storage tanks, because they had been always there, they would absorb any residual chakra present after each fight, and the collected power would be stored away for later. This had been how it was since arena was built. I guess defeating me was an emergency. It wasn't fair, he knew that, ninjas never played fair, and that was just one of the things he hated about his once profession. He was planning on being nice, but if this is how they want to play he don't mind. He crouched down and put one more stroke on the master seal, the white glow turned blue. Jiraiya had cut himself off from the seal to save himself, but the fool either forgot or thought that it would be fine to leave the connection with the storage tanks intact. Now there was nothing between Naruto and 4 taels worth of chakra stored beneath his feet. Hokage-sama. Tsunade turned her glower onto the poor fool who had come with some urgent message. What? She snapped. Hokage-sama, our chakra storage tanks are being drained, we have already half of the stored chakra and is steadily losing more as we speak. The Chunin messenger was shaking from the wrath of the cage, but then Tsunade laughed, she laughed so hard that tears sprung from her eyes, it was all so funny to her, they were going to fail, and it made her happy to know that. She turned to look at Jiraiya who had paled like he had seen a ghost, didn't think that this could happen, did you? Absorbing the chakra from the storage tanks, he whispered horrified. The original seal was supposed to absorb Naruto's chakra and add it to the storage tanks, but now that Naruto had reversed it, the seal was taking chakra from the tanks and giving it to Naruto. The seal was only a backup plan when Jiraiya had planted the seal with Danzo and the council's knowledge and help. He really didn't believe that Naruto would be strong enough that they would need to use the seal, but Danzo had pushed it, saying they needed a backup plan, and Jiraiya had agreed, now their backup just backfired on them. Jiraiya turned aghast and looked down at the stadium. How much chakra was in the tanks? Sakura asked worriedly. Almost 4 taels worth of chakra, Tsunade said smirking amusedly. Had it been anyone else than Naruto their body would have given out at the stress from that much chakra, but not for him, he is in Uzumaki and was a fucking Jinchuriki to boot, his body is adept at handling more potent chakra at a larger level. 4 taels worth of normal chakra like this isn't anything compared to an equal amount of Biju chakra, so the worst that could happen to him for taking on this much chakra would be a slight falter in his control. Naruto was glowing with the power he was absorbing, Jiraiya cursed, this couldn't be happening, the seal was supposed to drain and defeat Naruto, now it had made him more powerful than when he had begun with. Another messenger came a second later to inform them that their storage tanks were completely empty, and in the background Jiraiya could hear Tsunade's chuckles, but his eyes were fixed on Naruto who was smirking at him with a vicious twinkle in his eyes, and even from this distance, Jiraiya was sure of what he saw. Naruto took his eyes off of Jiraiya and turned to look at Sai who was hovering unsurely, he had no idea whether it was safe to be within the range of the seal or not. Soon once the storage tanks were empty, the seal gave one final glow and it died down. Naruto chuckled, since he absorbed some extra power showing off didn't seem like a bad idea. Sai had no idea what hit him before he was wrapped up completely in golden chains and was pulled down to the ground, there was a crater where he fell. Naruto moved closer to the struggling man, of course, there was no way of getting out of the chains, even Hiraishin wouldn't work once you are trapped in them, that's what made the Uzumaki chakra chains so infamous, once you are caught, it means you are trapped with no way out, unless you can break the chains with a physical force which was also very hard to do. He didn't waste any time, moved one hand to the struggling man's forehead and Sai passed out screaming like all others. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. The medics were quick to remove Sai from the arena, everyone was waiting with bated breath for the next match. Sakura stood with the other shinobi waiting for her match to be announced. Sakura Kakashi called and she turned to look at him. You won't be able to win this one like this. Sensei her protests died down when Tsunade scoffed at her. He is right, girl, maybe you should just forfeit. Sakura turned her glare onto the woman who had taught her and shrank back when the woman glared back. That was not what I was trying to say, Kakashi said, and Tsunade turned to him with a raised eyebrow, he continued, and this time looking at his cage and Jiraiya. We need to regroup and come up with something new, we have no idea what he had done to the others, and so far from what we have seen all he needs is a single touch to cause damage, we need more time, Kakashi said, from the side, Sasuke scoffed, and the others frowned thoughtfully. Tsunade looked irritated by the whole thing, we don't have any breaks planned between the matches, you all should know that, since it was your fucking idea that the continuous matches would tire him out, and now you want a break. Well you can go suck a dick, asshole. Some of the shinobi looked scandalized at the Hokage, but Tsunade only smirked. Jiraiya frowned, but he knew the Kakashi was right. Naruto reversing the seal, not just any seal, it was Jiraiya's masterpiece, means that he is at least at seal master level in sealing, but the ease with which Naruto had reversed the seal meant more than a seal master level. Kakashi scowled under his mask, the matches had started at 10 AM and now it was close to 11 AM. Naruto took barely 1 hour for defeating 9 opponents in one-on-one matches, surely the rest of them were stronger than the first 9 jonin, but it didn't mean much if they went in blind, not to mention that the amount of chakra that Naruto absorbed meant more trouble. The chakra had formed a translucent blue layer around him, and it was cackling like lightning and churning like violent waves. This was not good for them at all. They needed time and their cage was not listening. Tsunade-sama, you need to. I am not announcing for a break, Kakashi, you can forget about it. Kakashi turned grim and looked down to the stadium just as the match was announced. Sakura went down to the arena without another word. Having fun? Of course. Naruto raised his head to look at Kayashiro, he heard a chuckle resounding through their link and he smiles back. He agreed to the meeting. Naruto hummed thoughtfully, we should be prepared. You sure this is what you want to do? What I want to do, Kaio. What I want to do is rip his head right off his shoulders, but this is what I need to do for Gigi at least, else that poor soul might never find rest. Naruto felt Kayashiro trying to calm him down through the bond and smiled softly. There is also something else. Naruto became curious, what? A child you might want to take a look at. Naruto frowned thoughtfully, a child. Just then the next match was announced. Naruto Uzumaki v/2 Sakura Haruno begin. Sakura-chan, Naruto greeted in a mockingly cheerful tone. Sakura scowled, you have no right to address me like that, like we are friends. Naruto raised his eyebrow and then nodded with a smirk, alright then Haruno-san, shall we begin? Sakura answered with a resounding strike to the ground and earth crumbled beneath her fist. Naruto jumped up gracefully and retreated to the other edge of the stadium. Sakura was with him in a matter of moments, but Naruto dodged all of her attacks easily. She wasn't surprised as she saw how Naruto dodged Hanabi's attacks earlier, his speed was beyond her, and she had no hope for matching him in speed, yet she kept on trying to land a punch on him and distract him. Naruto was amused, Sakura thought that he was distracted enough to not notice how she had slipped down those explosive tags. Moments before the first explosion, Naruto had vanished. Explosions rocked the arena, and Naruto watched from another safer part of it. Sakura appeared behind him ready to punch his brains out. He turned around at the last minute, and all the shinobi who knew the strength of the frontline medic froze. Naruto caught her fist in the palm of his hand nonchalantly, he wasn't even straining, just stood there with that nonchalant pose and Sakura's fist firmly caught in his palm. Sakura's eyes widened, Naruto. How? That's Uzumaki-san to you, Haruno-san, or you can call me Namikaze-san, after all, we're not friends. Sakura almost didn't notice his other hand until it was too late, but she dodged at the nick of the time. This time, Naruto went on the offensive, but Sakura knew without a doubt that he was holding back, and even then she barely escaped with her neck intact. Naruto was playing with her, that much was sure. Her mind raced to find a plan, but Naruto was slipping out of all her traps very easily, he countered her strength and taijutsu like she was just an academy student. Sakura aimed another punch, and all it did was destroy more of the stadium. Naruto was nowhere to be seen. Where did he? Her line of thought was cut off by a sharp punch to her spine from behind. Sakura choked out a cry, and she could feel her vertebrae breaking like twigs under the force of the punch. Another kick was placed at the back of her head, and pain radiated through her entire body as her skull cracked under the impact. Sakura was too stunned to stop another punch to her chest that took out at least 4 of her ribs. She crumbled to the floor as her body could no longer support itself. Come on Haruno-san, we both know that this means nothing to you. Naruto was standing in front of her and he was right, with a glare and a pained grimace, Sakura focused on her seal. In seal. Release. The injuries vanished within the second, Sakura grimaced this time in irritation, it didn't take even few minutes of the match before she was forced to use her seal. She looked up and saw that Naruto was smiling at her, she growled and moved forward. Punch, dodge, kick, dodge, this continued on for some time with Naruto landing too many punches too often. Sakura staggered back when Naruto managed to land a blow once more. It didn't take her long to figure out that if it hadn't been for the instant regeneration, she would have been nothing but a bloody piece of meat by now. Then all of a sudden Naruto stopped, he had indulged her long enough, Sakura too stopped warily gazing at Naruto who was smiling at her patiently. So Haruno-san, I believe it's time to end this. Sakura's eyes narrowed, what's he planning? She cursed herself for not getting some more ninjutsu in her arsenal, she had concentrated on her physical strength and medical jutsu, both of which were not really useful in this situation. The code of chakra that was swirling around him began concentrating around his palms in something similar to the chakra scalpel and covered up to his forearms. Sakura concentrated and activated her own chakra scalpel, and their match resumed. What happened next was brutal. This time, Naruto was even faster, his movements more precise and aiming for maximum damage. Sakura soon found out that unlike her chakra scalpels, whatever Naruto was using was shredding her muscles and nerves like wet noodles. They were aimed especially on her nerves. It was so much damage that she knew the instant regeneration technique was only barely managing to repair the damages. Panting and at a loss of what to do, Sakura stood to stare at Naruto in utter disbelief. She thought that she had a good guess on his abilities, then he goes and proves her wrong by going even beyond what she already knew. She resumed her fighting stance and got ready to take off, but then something went very, very wrong. All of them were silent as they watched the scene. Tsunade was the one who broke the silence with a chuckle. "One of my greatest techniques." Tsunade laughed wholeheartedly, and he managed to surpass it. Tsunade was smiling unlike everyone else with her. "Yes, he surpassed the both of us already, Jiraiya." She didn't bother looking at Jiraiya, her eyes stayed fixed on the arena. Jiraiya stood behind her scowling, her words weren't meant to be comforting, and Jiraiya was none too happy to hear them. Her whole body shook and she stared in wonder at her arms. She couldn't muster up the horror she needed to feel, and only stared surprised at the stream of blood still leaking from the multiple cuts on both her arms. She was bleeding, and she knew that her instant regeneration was still in effect. She stared at it for some more moment, willing the cuts to stitch back together, but no, her chakra was directed for the more extensive internal damage, she noted dully. Her chakra was still trying to fix the mangled nerves that were a result of Naruto's strikes, and if the worsening shaking and the loss of feeling in her legs were any indications, her chakra wasn't doing a very good job. Sakura numbly turned to look at Naruto as her body shook harder and she crashed onto her knee. He was now standing right in front of her. Would he leave her alive like he had done for the rest of the opponents, or would she be an exception? Her career was lost, she knew that at a base level. Extensive nerve damage meant that she would never have a steady hand or the immaculate chakra control she prized. Even if managed to heal and live, there would be no unscathed escape. Naruto raised his right hand, the chakra still covering onto his forearms, and her eyes took in the sight of minute blades of chakra that moved like raging waves over his arms. She closed her eyes and waited for the finishing blow and hoped that he made an exception and was about to end her. Without her career, her purpose, it wasn't worth living. But the blow she expected didn't come, and instead 2 fingers grazed her forehead. Startled, she opened her eyes. There was no pain like she had expected, not that she thought she could be in any more pain than what she was already suffering through, and she fell down to the ground completely, eyes falling shut. The announcement was met with many protests and disappointment from the audience, but even they could see the damage done to the arena ground. Sakura and Naruto's match had resulted in deep fissures and cracks across the entire stadium. Naruto stood at a corner of the stadium with a frown, after some contemplating on whether or not to fix the ground this instant and let the matches continue. He decides not to do it. After all, he would need to keep up some illusion that he was still human enough, and defeating all of them in one go would not aid that. So with a sigh he vanished silently from the arena and appeared beside his friends and mate. "So did you all enjoy the show?" Naruto asks the various cage, and there are chuckles and various forms of agreement from them all. Kaishiro is silently smirking by his side, and Naruto thinks about their earlier conversation. After a friendly conversation and a lunch together with all the cage, they go their separate ways. Once Naruto and Kaishiro were alone in their room, Naruto sat down on the table. "So this kid," he prompts. Kaishiro frowns thoughtfully. "Don't know much about him, but I saw him in passing after the talk with Lady Yamini." Naruto gives him a serious look at the mention of her name. Kaishiro shakes his head as if to clear his thoughts, and Naruto decides to concentrate on the subject at hand. "So why is this kid so special?" "You'll know it when you meet him," Kaishiro said, and Naruto knew that meant Kaishiro already had their people following the kid. "How old is the kid?" "3, maybe 4. Naruto nods slowly, assuming that this kid has a guardian. "Single mother. Maybe we can meet her over dinner." Kaishiro shakes his head. "No, dinner is with Lady Yamini to discuss a possible alliance." Naruto chuckles, and he agreed. Of course he did, it's not surprising at all, Naruto says when Kaishiro nods. Naruto can't see the way Kaishiro grits his teeth while talking about Yamini. "And I think you have a meeting with Tsubasa." This time Kaishiro is the one who diverts the conversation. Naruto's eyes widened. "Oh crap, I totally forgot about that guy. I was so caught up with all of this that you know what, I'll meet with Tsubasa right now if he's free." Kaishiro nods, and with a puff of smoke a small fox appears on his lap, with sunset orange fur and hazel eyes. It is an adorable little thing. Kaishiro gently pets it for a moment, and the fox yips in a content greeting, then its eyes flicker over to Naruto, and Naruto chuckles when the fox yips excitedly at him. Nice to see you again, little one, Naruto said softly. Aishiro chuckles, Kit, I need you to bring Tsubasa here. The fox bobs its little head and vanishes in another puff of smoke after some more yips at Naruto. I am starting to think that my kids like you more than me, Kaishiro mutters with a fake pout. Oh, don't be sad, Kaio, they're just acknowledging that I am the more handsome one, Naruto cooed at Kaishiro with amusement. Aishiro smirks mockingly, or maybe it's because you're the one with all the maternal instincts. Aishiro catches the paperweight thrown at his head easily and chuckles. Says the guy with the girly hair, Naruto grumbles good-naturedly, both of them enjoying their little banter. You saying you hate my hair? Kaishiro asks with a scoff. Hate it? Naruto asks licking his lips remembering all the reasons he loved that hair, I fucking love it, babe. Aishiro smirks. You, Naruto drawls, that doesn't make it any less girly. Aishiro stands up from his position on the armchair and approaches Naruto intent on showing exactly who the girly one is, but then the fox kid is back with Tsubasa in tow. I hope I didn't interrupt anything. Tsubasa looked at them both curiously, Kaishiro kept a blank face and retreated to his armchair, while Naruto smirked at him. Have a seat, Tsubasa. As the man sat down in the offered seat he spoke, we postponed the search since you didn't give a new order. Naruto nodded, don't wait any longer and start the search today. Tsubasa frowned, and what about the clan compounds? Naruto shook his head, the clan compounds can wait, we will wait until the matches are over to start the search on them, that way we can have free access to the compounds without any risk of being caught. Yes, Naruto-sama. Aishiro frowned thoughtfully, Tsubasa, I want you to monitor each compound more carefully now, once the matches are over the compounds will be evacuated of their current residents, as well as their personal belongings, make sure that those personal belongings don't include what we are searching for. Tsubasa nodded, that would be wise. Naruto looked confused, Kaio, I don't think anyone even know about their existence. Just to be sure we can keep an eye on it, Naru, better safe than sorry. Naruto nodded. Is there anything else, Naruto-sama, Kaishiro-sama? Naruto shook his head and dismissed Tsubasa. Tsubasa was gone just like he had arrived. Naruto turned to Kaishiro who was sitting there with a little fox in his arms, he was slowly petting it and giving it snacks, he smiled and moved towards them. They spend some time just relaxing and playing with the fox kid, that's when Kaishiro tensed, well looks like we will be meeting the kid and his mother now. They're here? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow, he tried to sense what Kaishiro was sensing, and among the massive chakra signatures one felt different, a familiar kind of different, Naruto's eyes widened slightly in surprise. I take it that you sense the kid, Kaishiro asked already knowing the answer. I thought he didn't have any kids yet. Naruto said perplexed. By the records, he doesn't. A secret lover and kid, then. But our spies would found out if that was the case, Naruto asked. I won't bet on that, she loves the kid, but something tells me that the sperm donor is not that much appreciated. Naruto hummed thoughtfully. You wish to meet them now? Kaishiro asks, it would not be difficult seeing as the kid and his mother was at the cafe just across the road from their housing. Naruto shakes his head, no, not yet, I don't enjoy walking in blind so we'll gather whatever we could about them first. Kaishiro nodded approvingly still petting the fox kid absent-mindedly. It'll send some guys right away, meanwhile. Aishiro couldn't finish that sentence because he got a call from Hibara inviting them to some sort of party with the other dignitaries, they sighed and got ready for a long, annoying and boring event. How are they doing, Tsunade-sama? Kurenai asked Tsunade who just exited the ward after checking up on the defeated shinobi, none of them regained their consciousness yet and they had no clear detail on what happened to them. Most of the sensei, jonin and families were present looking for any details on their students' children, all of them turned to Tsunade looking for some sort of information, everyone's close family was present, but sadly for those with clans, most of their clans refused to come and see the ones that were defeated, surprisingly both Niji and Hinata were present for Hanabi. But a closer examination made it clear that the only reason Niji came here was for Hinata, who still cared about her misguided sister, not for Hanabi. Kakashi and Jiraiya were suspiciously absent and she felt a little uneasy, Sasuke was absent as well, but that was no surprise, everyone knew that the Uchiha didn't care about anyone else. All of them waited in anticipation for her to speak, Tsunade thought about her words carefully. Tsunade-sama, how are they? Asuma asked as he stood next to Kurenai, the pensive silence that Tsunade gave them was worrying. Finally Tsunade said, they're alive and I believe that they would wake up in a day or two, in the end Tsunade decided that that was the best answer she could give. Many sighed in relief, but only a few noticed Tsunade's frown. Tsunade-sama, you weren't telling us everything, Inoichi said from his seat near his wife, Ino's mother was crying at the fate of her beloved daughter. After some contemplation Tsunade sighed, it was not like keeping it a secret would change anything, we weren't sure. What? Tsunade explained, we aren't sure about the state of the shinobi inside, from the outside they look fine, and the broken bones have all been realigned and put in a cast, they show no signs of internal bleeding, and their breathing and heartbeat checks out fine, some of them might have a slight concussion that can be taken care of in a few days. Hanabi and Sakura suffered the most damage so far, and they would need to spend the next 3 months in the hospital if things don't change. Why so long? Shikaku questions, our healers are capable of healing them completely in a shorter time. That's the problem, Tsunade says, none of our chakra techniques works on them. Naruto turns around to face the one who addressed him, he already knew who was standing behind him. Milady, Naruto let out an amused smirk. You did well today, Naruto-kun, Yamini said with a sultry smirk, Naruto smirked right back at her. I take it you enjoyed watching them. Yamini gave a demure giggle, but Naruto could sense the sadistic joy and sinister intent behind that smile, he smiled right back at her. So should we expect you tonight? Naruto asks. Yamini looked at him with piercing violet eyes from under long lashes, of course, I did accept your invitation earlier I just hope that you know what you are getting into. With one more coy smile Yamini moved away from him whispering to her guards. Naruto chuckled lowly, oh, I know exactly what I am getting into. Naruto-sama. Karen slowly spoke up from beside him. Naruto looked at him, although his bodyguard wore that customary blank expression, and his eyes were hidden Naruto could very well sense his concern. That woman Karen trailed Yvonne surely, beside him Ray had a similar frown. Naruto gave him an amused smile, what is it, Karen? Naruto-sama, there is something quite unsettling about that woman, we can sense some sort of dangerous aura from her presence alone, it was Ray who answered him in his stoic voice. Are you worried that she would harm me? Naruto-sama you are strong and she or her people would never come even close to leaving a scratch on you, but we are concerned. Naruto laughs at Karen's words, and then he smiles at them sincerely, I understand your concerns, but let me take care of this one. Karen and Ray nodded reluctantly. Now, I want everything to be ready for tonight's meeting, she is more dangerous than you believe, and once she and her men enter the compound, I don't want any of them leaving without my permission. What are you saying Tsunade-sama? Tsunade's eyes harden, I meant what I said, the mystical palm technique or any other medical technique doesn't works on them for whatever reason that we couldn't figure out, so most of the observations we made on the patients were using crude non-chakra methods, and such methods offer very less precision, so the conclusions I made are not 100% precise. Why aren't they working? Guy asked lowly. Tsunade sighs, we don't know yet, we're trying every chakra healing technique we know and they all get dispelled when used on them, it's like they're shielded from any and all external chakra techniques, we can't even do a scan to check out any damages to their chakra pathways, we even tried the Byakugan, but even that can't see past whatever is shielding them. There were several gasps all around, and Tsunade continues. At this moment, all we can do is treating their injuries using non-chakra methods, and they take a much longer time than chakra healing methods, as far as we know, their body is healing as well as it can under these circumstances. Everyone sat there silently not knowing what to say. Finally it was Shikaku who broke the silence, at least they're alive. Naruto sat in the armchair with his eyes closed and head tilted backwards and resting on the backrest, the party was over by sunset and they spend the rest of the time taking care of some other things, now the time for the dinner with Yamini was near. They're here. Naruto opened his eyes to look at Kayashiro, who was leaning against the doorframe, Naruto stood up silently and walked out followed by Kayashiro. Naruto could feel the chakra pulsing beneath his skin like a caged beast trying to snap free, he knew Kayashiro felt just as anxious. The both of them entered a giant hall bare of any other furniture, Yamini and 3 other men were already there, she had an amused smirk on her face like she had everything under control, and it only amused Naruto. Naruto-kun, Yamini purred out in greeting taking a step forward towards him. Naruto moved forward slowly, I admit that this is a pretty face, but why don't you take Yamini out of the equation and show me your real form? Yamini chuckled, so you do know. Her chuckles turned into a full-blown laugh as her skin started shriveling up, it then peeled off to reveal sickeningly pale skin underneath and yellow eyes replaced violet ones. Naruto didn't react once Orochimaru's form came into view, the white skin had scales at some parts and Naruto wasn't surprised given what he knew. Glad to see me, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru lisped in snake-like voice. Naruto was silent, from the corner of his eyes, Orochimaru noticed the shadows from the corners moving and stretching, his eyes narrowed when all of a sudden 8 individuals emerged from the shadows, they were all wearing black cloaks just like the one Kayashiro was currently wearing. The individuals arranged themselves behind Naruto with Kayashiro standing directly behind Naruto and 4 others on each side. Orochimaru stared at Naruto with a condensing smirk, I hope you aren't trying to intimidate me with the 9 Biju, Naruto-kun. Naruto shook his head like he was talking to some petulant kid. You know as well as I do that no human could ever recognize the Biju welfare in their human form, and you just proved that you are not human. Orochimaru's eyes widened slightly, and he cursed internally from that slip-up, but it didn't matter anyway. Orochimaru doesn't speak and Naruto starts circling him, the look in his eyes is calm and bored, but Orochimaru feels like a prey. You know, Orochimaru, I found out some interesting information about you. Oh, and what would that be, Naruto-kun, besides the fact that I am a demon? Orochimaru scoffs. Naruto stops directly behind Orochimaru. I know who you are, Amon. So you found out. I was really hoping that you actually did want an alliance. Orochimaru speaks in a more thickly demonic voice. What are you going to do about it, Millard? He mocks. Oh wait, you are no lord, you rejected the position as the demon lord, so that worthless mate of yours could remain as the lord, didn't you? Orochimaru sneers. Faster than Orochimaru could blink there was 7 chakra chains piercing through him. Orochimaru chuckles. You think you caught me? Think again, Lord Naruto, and his body turns to mud. Naruto glares at the puddle of mud at his feet. He looks to the side to see that the 3 minions Orochimaru brought with him already dead at Shukaku's hands. Directly beneath the mud, a seal lights up and Naruto grins viciously. Why don't we pay dear old Amon a visit? Orochimaru sat in his underground lair, thinking about the plans to destroy Konoha. Kabuto walked into the room only to find that Orochimaru's eyes narrowed all of a sudden. Orochimaru-sama. My clone just got destroyed. I wonder what happened. Orochimaru murmurs. Kabuto, lock up the compound and tighten the security. I have a bad feeling about this. Kabuto nods and leaves the room quickly. Orochimaru is surprised when Kabuto returns to the room not even 10 seconds later. Kabuto, what is it? Kabuto looks nervous, and Orochimaru knows that it's something serious. Orochimaru-sama, every one of our shinobi are dead. Orochimaru's eyes widen. What? How can that be? I don't know, Orochimaru-sama, and all the experiments are missing as well. There are no sign of enemies. We need to get out of here, Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru nods hastily. Whoever can take out every one of his shinobi right under his nose without him knowing had to be handled with caution. I don't think y'all be going anywhere. Orochimaru turns around at the voice to find Naruto standing cosily leaning against the wall. Naruto, what brings you here? How did you find this place? Orochimaru hisses. Naruto raises an eyebrow. I admit that you are very good at hiding. Every lead we had on you, we end up facing one of your clones. No one could track this place either. Nice work hiding. But then I did a little homework and came up with a seal that could track you down using your clone's chakra. It was pretty easy after that. What do you want, Naruto? Orochimaru asks spitefully. You know your clone was quite rude to me and my mate, Amon, so we decided to pay a visit, Naruto says, and Orochimaru looks around to see that he is surrounded by 9 cloaked figures. Kabuto is standing silently, eyeing all of them with caution. So you found out, Orochimaru snarls, has trapped and he knows it. What are you going to do about it? You have a lot to pay for, Amon, for what you did to Kayashiro's first mate and children, to my parents, to all those children you experimented on, to my Jiji and to Orochimaru, whose body you are currently possessing, Naruto says. Amon snarls again and he looks frantic and crazed. Amon. Amon turns to face the speaker and Kayashiro is standing before him, eyes red and demonic features on full display. Amon sneers, you think you can defeat me? You fool. You are no longer who you used to be, you don't have the power you used to, I will be the one ending you, just like how I did with that vixen and kits of yours. Kayashiro's restraints snap audibly and he pounces, skin rips apart, and the next moment Amon in Orochimaru's body is buried under a 10-foot-tall 9-tailed fox. Naruto sees Kabuto trying to attack, but before he has a chance to do anything Matatabi pounces on the man, she is already changed into her Biju form of a 12-foot-tall 2-tailed cat made of blue lightning. Amon avoids Kayashiro's snapping jaws and shifts away, Orochimaru's body begins rippling, and a reptilian tail emerges from behind him, and his skin becomes completely scaled. Amon tries to attack Kayashiro, but the fox is better at evading the snake's fangs and clawing up the snake even more. Kabuto already lay dead at Matatabi's feet, so Matatabi joins Naruto and the others in watching Kayashiro tear Amon apart, because that's what it is, Amon had no chance against Kayashiro. Amon gets thrown around and in the end Orochimaru's body is broken and bleeding. Kayashiro stalks towards the downed demon with vengeance. This was the demon that killed his beautiful first mate and his newborn kits, and he deserved to die the most gruesome death. Amon crawls backward in fright. Mercy, please show mercy, I admit defeat. Naruto raises an eyebrow, this was pathetic. You deserve no mercy, Naruto says because Kayashiro is beyond words right now and the only things that come out of his mouth were growls and snarls. Amon turns towards Naruto, please my lord have mercy, tell your mate to spare me. And why would I do that? Naruto says mockingly. Because Amon is frantically searching for a reason, and finally, he says, because if your mate continues then Orochimaru will die. Almost all of them scoff at him. Amon shakes his head frantically. Believe me, I am telling the truth, Hess still in there, Hess still alive. Matatabi is the one who speaks up. Oh please, you have possessed him for almost 4 decades, there is no way his soul is still sustained, no human can survive a demonic possession for all those years. All of them agree, but Naruto is silent and Amon looks at him. You know I am telling the truth, don't you? He is, Naruto says after some time. Amon sighs in relief when Kayashiro steps back from him. Kayashiro wants Amon dead, but he cold kill Orochimaru who was a victim in this as well. Amon hides a smirk when Kayashiro growls in frustration. You can't kill me without killing Orochimaru too, Amon says smugly. Yaora Kitsune, you would never intentionally hurt innocents. Oh don't worry, Amon, I can remedy that quite quickly, Naruto smirks and steps forward. Amon feels fear crawl up his spine when Naruto crouched down beside him. This will hurt a lot. Naruto's hands glow a bright green color and he places his hands on Orochimaru's chest. Amon panics when the hands sink into his chest as if they are intangible. No. Amon screams when Naruto grabs a hold of something inside him and tugs it outward. A loud wailing fills the room, but it is not coming from Orochimaru's mouth. Orochimaru's face is relaxed and his eyes closed in unconsciousness. The ghostly specter in Naruto's hands is screeching in indefinite pain. Naruto smirks and throws it to the other side of the room. Make him suffer, Kaio, Naruto says, and then he turns back to Orochimaru. In a flash of fire, Naruto and the rest of the Biju disappear with Orochimaru, leaving Amon and Kayashiro to their fun. Seiken, I need your help, Naruto mutters placing glowing green hands over Orochimaru's chest. They had teleported themselves to great distance away from Amon and Kayashiro. Seiken, the six-tailed slug, nods and moves towards him and does the same as Naruto. Naruto curses when Orochimaru's heart stops again. The glow of their hands grows brighter and the heart starts beating once more. What Naruto did was a risky move, in fact, it was downright stupid move now that Naruto thought about it. He was too caught up on having his revenge and finishing of Amon that he didn't think about what would happen to Orochimaru. Naruto had literally ripped Amon out of Orochimaru's body and that will leave some heavy damages on Orochimaru's soul. Not to mention the fact that the changes Amon's yokai had done to Orochimaru's body were now working against him. The disruption in the coils was preventing the healing. Naruto pursed his lips in thought. There was only one thing he could think of that could fix this. He could not let Orochimaru die because that man was innocent. It won't be fair if Orochimaru had to pay for the crimes that Amon had done while possessing him. In fact, he was pretty sure that if Orochimaru woke up with an intact mind, he would have no memory of the events past his 14th birthday. This was a big mess, but if the man had struggled against a demonic possession and survived this long, it won't be fair to let him die like this. Mata-chan. Mata-chan. Look at this. What is it, Chimay? Matatabi looked at the younger tailed beast. Chimay was pointing towards the distance where Orochimaru's underground base was. Matatabi looked and saw a 70-foot-tall white snake break out of the ground. Well, it's a good thing that we moved this far, Asobu remarks dryly. Son Goku, who was keeping an eye on Naruto and Seiken up until that moment, came to stand beside them and watch. Just then, Kayashiro in his fox form jumps out of the earth and grows bigger until he matches the snake in size. The fight was brutal and long, however, by the end they all see Kayashiro standing victoriously over the pleading snake. Suffice to say Kayashiro had no reason to stop this time. That was boring, Kakuo snarks as Kayashiro kills Amon. Matatabi scoffs at Kakuo, like you cold done any better. Kakuo glares at his elder sibling. They all turn back to look at Naruto and Seiken and is surprised to see that they aren't there. They ditched us. Chimay says. Kayashiro's gonna be pissed that his mate didn't see his baddest fight with the snake, Kakuo grins. Matatabi turns to look at where Kayashiro used to be, only to find him gone too. Oh, so he ditched us too, Kakuo whines. They all shake their head at him and vanish with their own teleportation. Tsunade walked into the council chambers lost in thought. The fools in the council had suddenly decided for a meeting and requested her immediate presence. From experience, Tsunade knew that they just wanted her there to sign on whatever decision they already had reached. Being Hokage was just another way of being the council's puppet. She wondered when she had let them get away with so much power. Just another one of her glorious mistakes. Tsunade sighed ruefully. Tobirama and Minato were the only Hokage who cold kept the council on a leash, but both of them were long gone. Maybe if he had some more time Minato cold brought some changes to the corrupt council. Then again, if Minato had more time a lot of things would been different. Tsunade entered the council chamber without any preamble. The first thing she notes is that Kakashi and Jiraiya are both present and the pensive frown on their faces means nothing good. She is silent and sharp as she sits down on her seat. The lack of her usual anger only made the room tenser. Tsunade raises an eyebrow at Danzo, silently asking him to speak. Danzo steps forward and his grim expression didn't hide enough of his satisfaction. Tsunade Senju, you are declared unfit for the position of the Hokage. Tsunade stood up angrily, her palm slammed down on the table with enough force that the table became a pile of splinters. On what ground am I unfit for my position? The council has no power over my cage position. Tsunade glared at the smug-looking council members, and they trembled under her rage. Danzo shook his head slowly. The council has unanimously voted against you. The Anbu commander and third-in-command Kakashi Haddock, as well as second-in-command Sanin Jiraiya, have stated that you are not fit for duty under the current situation. You yourself appointed them as your second and third-in-command to the cage position, and both of them have voted against you. Tsunade trembled in rage as she turned her gaze towards Jiraiya and Kakashi. They didn't meet her gaze, and Tsunade swallowed the venom boiling in her tongue. She wanted to lash out at them for betraying the trust she had placed in them, but she couldn't say that she had expected any better of them. Vaguely she wondered whether what she felt now was even worth comparing to what Naruto must have felt all those years ago. Danzo continues on, the final decision was made based on the opinion of the majority. Tsunade's eyes narrowed as she looked at the council members present. How can that be when only half of the council is present? Where is the rest of the shinobi council? Danzo smirked, this is the shinobi council Tsunade, at least what's left of them. Tsunade opens her mouth to speak, but Danzo cuts her off. By the village rules, a representative from each clan, the Anbu commander and the Sanin, are what makes the shinobi half of the council. As you can see, the Anbu commander as well the remaining Sanin, along with the clan representatives are here. Tsunade resists a scoff as she looks at the shinobi half of the council. The only ones present were Jiraiya, Kakashi, that Uchiha brat, then Asuma as the Sarutobi clan head, and Shizune as the Senju clan representative since Tsunade was the Hokage. Seeing Tsunade's confused frown, Danzo explained, Konoha's rules specify that for a family to be registered as a clan, they need a clan compound. Without a clan compound, they cannot be a clan. Tsunade's eyes widened. Every member that was defeated today lost their clan compound and wealth to Naruto, and as a result, they lost their status as a clan as well. You need the daimyo's permission for this to be official, Tsunade said. He will be arriving shortly, Danzo said. Tsunade sat down back in the chair silently. All of them were confused when the angry woman suddenly turned silent. Jiraiya saw the look on Tsunade's face, and he knew that whatever happened next would be bad. Soon the daimyo arrived. Naruto and Seiken appeared inside their lab in Demon Country. The demons and humans working there turned to them in surprise. Naruto used his chakra to move Orochimaru's body into a chamber, all the while pumping a steady supply of his chakra to keep him alive. Naruto-sama, you can release him now, he is stable. Naruto nodded to Seiken and released his chakra from Orochimaru. What do you want me to do, Naruto-sama? Seiken asked and Naruto turned to him frowning. As Naruto explained to Seiken what needed to be done, Seiken was surprised, but he didn't question his lord's actions. Once he was sure that everything was okay, Naruto left the facility. There was something he needed to take care of. Tsubasa and Iruka sat inside Naruto's place in Konoha stiffly. The both of them were waiting for Naruto to arrive, but it was Kaishiro who appeared before them. Iruka and Tsubasa both noted that Kaishiro looked at peace somehow, like a weight had been lifted off of his shoulders. What's wrong? Kaishiro asked, seeing their frowns. Tsubasa was the one who said it. The council made a move, Kaishiro-sama. More like Danzo made his move, Iruka scoffed. What happened? Kaishiro asked pensively. There was council meeting soon after you left. Danzo managed to convince the entire council that Tsunade was no longer an acceptable cage, so now there is a new cage, Tsubasa said, scowling. Kaishiro raised an eyebrow. A new cage. The council doesn't have that kind of power. Iruka shook his head. The council doesn't, but 2 years ago Tsunade appointed Jiraiya as her second-in-command and Haddock as her third-in-command. Their combined opinions have the power to question the cage's authority. They also had the daimyo present at the meeting. And the daimyo agreed? Kaishiro asked, amused. No, Tsubasa spoke, he gave Senju-san the choice. Iruka chuckled, and she said that Konoha can go fuck itself because she no longer wants to lead this hellhole. Iruka truly enjoyed the show that Tsunade put on. He had made the right decision on spying on the meeting. Kaishiro chuckled, so what, Jiraiya is the cage now? No, Tsubasa and Iruka said with identical frowns. Kaishiro frowned at that, then who? Oh, it's that bastard, isn't it? Iruka and Tsubasa's silence was answer enough. Naruto stood in a wide endless space. A woman with blood-red eyes and hair, with deep bronze skin appeared before him. She bowed before Naruto. Creator, what shall I do for you? Naruto shook his head. I am just passing through time, but tell me, have there been any disturbances? From the outsider inside, Creator. Time asked curiously. I am talking about the one inside, Time. Time shook her head. No, Creator, there have been no disturbances. Naruto nodded, and the white space gave way to a desert as he passed through the first defense of his mind. The second defense was desperation. Anyone who got past time would be faced with desperation, their bodies would be under desperation's control, and desperation would increase the body's metabolism to such a level that it starves their bodies. If the intruder ever got back into his or her body in time, it would be frail, hungry and dehydrated. Desperation appeared before Naruto in the form of an old man with white hair and eyes with dark wrinkled skin. Desperation too bowed before Naruto reverently. Naruto just nodded and repeated the questions he asked time and received the same answers. The surroundings changed to a luscious forest as the third defense came into view, Huntress. Huntress materialized before him with blonde hair and golden eyes like that of a cat's. She possessed sharp claws and fangs that made her look more beastly. Unlike the other two, Huntress didn't take over their bodies, but instead established a connection. Any intruder had to cross the forest to get to the next defense, but the forest was filled with beasts all under Huntress control, and any wounds caused by the Huntress or the beasts inside the mind would be transferred to the bodies. Naruto passed through the third and fourth defense with the same questions and got the same answers. The fourth defense was eternity. This was also a time manipulation zone. It was so that only seconds passed inside the fourth defense, while years passed outside, or the opposite can be done as well. If the mind of the intruder was trapped in eternity, escape would be difficult. Naruto would be in full control of his body, and the defense could also locate the body of the intruder that would be highly vulnerable. The fifth defense was irony. Even if you got past the Huntress and eternity, irony was a much stronger defense, and it would kick the intruder back to their bodies immediately. But the thing was that irony would lock the intruder's mind inside their bodies, so that the intruder will be in a perpetual coma. Being able to experience everything but not being able to establish a connection with their body. Irony too answered that there had been no disturbances. The next three defenses were mental barriers without a representative form. Naruto came across the first barrier that looked like wood crisscrossing to make an impenetrable wall. Behind the barrier, Naruto could feel the chakra boiling. This was why he had so many mental defenses. It wasn't a matter of keeping intruders out, but it was a matter keeping the beast inside. Naruto crossed the sixth barrier and could immediately feel the pressure of the Jubi chakra. Luckily its influence hadn't crossed over the seventh barrier. The seventh barrier looked a wall of ice. Naruto crossed over that one as well. Golden chakra kept lashing out in the form of tails. Naruto had to concentrate to keep it calm. This was getting more and more difficult as time went on. Naruto stepped through the seventh barrier. The eighth barrier was a brick wall that looked deceptively weak. Behind the eighth barrier was his mindscape. It looked like his home in Demon Country, with a library representing an archive of his memories. Normally whenever Naruto entered the mindscape he felt a calm, but now he felt too hot and annoyed, and he knew what or who was responsible for this. At the back of his house was a wooden door. Looking insignificant next to the 8 defenses before it, but this door was the 9th defense, and this defense was the strongest of the 9. The door looked as perfect as ever, but white chakra leaked through the bottom of the door. Naruto growled, his anger fueled by the agitation present in the air. He opened the door and stepped inside and came face to face with a grinning white-haired woman. "Hello, Naruto, I was waiting for you." The guy Naruto growled out. Danzo leaned back in his chair with a satisfied smirk. Things went well in the end. He had expected Tsunade to put up a fight, but in the end, the woman had surprised him by rejecting the Hokage position. Everything was going in his favor. He needed to ensure that the Uzumaki brat lost the match. Sai was his trump card, yet he had been defeated so easily. Sure, the next set of ninjas fighting Naruto would be the more powerful ones, but that didn't really calm Danzo down. He needed assurance that even if they lost, things would be under his control, and that was standing right before him. "Why did you bring us here, Danzo?" Danzo looked at the people present in the room. The rest of the contestants that would be fighting Naruto tomorrow, along with the parents of those who were defeated, the only ones absent were the Hyuga clan representatives, but that can't be helped since they were very fond of Naruto these days. "As you know," Danzo began as he stood up, "Naruto has won 10 out of the 16 matches. We have lost the properties and wealth of 6 clans and 4 other shinobi. This is a great loss to Konoha. We cannot afford to lose any of the clan jutsu or their wealth. The compounds themselves are not that important." Sasuke interrupted, "But we haven't lost yet. The next match is between me and the dope. I will defeat him." "We'll see how that goes," Danzo mocked. Sasuke growled, "Are you implying that I won't be able to beat that dope?" "I am implying that we should not risk it. We still have not figured out what happened to the hospitalized shinobi, and without knowing what exactly it is that Naruto is doing, we're walking in blind," Danzo said, sending a steely glare at Sasuke. "That is why I want all of you to transfer your clan funds to the village fund immediately and move the majority of your library to the village vault." There were murmurs among them, and then Shikaku spoke, "We can't do that." "You can and you will. Naruto does not have complete ownership until all the matches are over, and I want all of this done before the matches start tomorrow," Danzo said. "What if we disagree?" Asuma asked, stepping forward. That is your choice, but with or without your permission it will be done, Danzo said. You can't do that. Kurenai said. Yes, that is very unyouthful, Guy said. It is a matter of Konoha's survival. You think that we would have any chance in the coming war if we are broke by the end of these matches? Danzo said, and this time none questioned him. Danzo ran his gaze over all the members present. Of course, if one of you win the match, then the wealth and jutsu will be transferred back to where they belong. It should be done by midnight. My shinobi would be at your compounds to collect them. Remember, this is for the good of Konoha. Danzo watched as the shinobi left, all of them silently fuming. The chance that Naruto will defeat all of them was very less, but Danzo had a feeling that all of them were severely underestimating the Uzumaki, and besides, this is a grand opportunity to get his hands on all their clan jutsu. Why waste it? Even if one of them won and he had to return the scrolls, by that time he would have all of them copied, and the clan funds would be significantly less, and if they didn't win, it was just a matter of getting Uzumaki killed before the final match. What do you want, Kagaya? Kagaya scoffed. What do you think, Naruto? Naruto growled and stepped up to her. Stop it. Kagaya raised an eyebrow. Stop what? What do you think I am doing? I mean, you have me locked up in your mind, and what do you think I am even capable of doing? Naruto's hand curled around her neck and he violently pushed her back. You think you can just rattle my instincts and sit back to watch the show? Kagaya didn't even flinch when his eyes turned silver and claws cut through her skin. Instead, she remained calm. You need to calm down, Naruto, and trust me when I say that I have nothing to do with what you are feeling now. Bullshit. Naruto screamed, I haven't felt this agitated since I have attained control over your chakra. Now all of a sudden I am craving blood. A fight feels like I need to rip someone to pieces. And you automatically thought that the conscience of the ex-Jubi was the cause, didn't you, you foolish boy? Kagaya giggled. Naruto slammed her into the wall and snarled, but Kagaya remained unaffected. Now Naruto, this is no way to treat a lady. This only riled him up more and he tossed her around like a rag doll. Kagaya fought back, but Naruto kept attacking her. Finally, Naruto calmed down and took a deep breath. Feeling better? Kagaya asked as she got up from the ground. Naruto narrowed his eyes. What's going on? He rasped. It took a moment for him to reel back from the mindless violence he was exhibiting. Naruto looked down at his hands to see his claws shrinking back to human nails. His eyes and fangs became how they normally are. Believe it or not, I have nothing to do with this. This is all you, Kagaya says. What are you saying? I have complete control. Yes you do, and nothing has happened to your control, Naruto. If you had let me explain everything at the beginning, instead of locking me up, you wouldn't be so confused right now. Naruto looked at her skeptically, causing Kagaya to sigh. Okay, I admit I was a little insane in the beginning. Completely insane, Kagaya. You were completely insane, Naruto reminded. Kagaya huffed. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. What you are feeling right now are just your instincts acting out on their own. It happens when you're a Biju, but don't worry, you're not going insane like me or any of the other Biju. Your Uzumaki chakra took care of that. Naruto sighed. Why is this happening now? Come on, Naruto, you're back among the people who betrayed and tortured you. You aren't as forgiving as you'd like others to think. You want more than anything else to rip them apart like paper and bath in their blood. Bask in the glory of their terror. Kagaya sighed dreamily. That's what any Biju would wanted. Naruto gritted his teeth, Kagaya's words only riling up his bloodlust. But you have an image to uphold, don't you? The benevolent leader, the kind-hearted peace-loving fool. Kagaya laughs out loud. We both know that if it wasn't for the thousands watching you in the stadium, there would be nothing left of your opponents, but alas. The poor monster has to act like the charming prince, a sadistic charming prince, but still. Kagaya chuckles. All those suppressed desires are taking their toll on you, Naruto. You need to let those frustrations out somehow. But you can't kill those fools because you have an image to keep, and when you were facing that demon, you had to give the honor to your mate, once again denied the chance of revenge against the demon that had killed your precious Gigi. Naruto took a deep breath. It doesn't matter if it was Kaio who killed that snake, we're mates, we're one and the same. Besides, Kaio deserved to kill that bastard who took away his first mate and children. Kagaya chuckles, so you say, but why lie, my boy? You regret not having the snake's blood spilled over your hands, you regret it no matter what you say, and then there's your mate, yet another frustration. Kaio has nothing to do with my problem. Really? You mean to say that you're okay with the fact that you weren't the Kitsune's first mate? You're okay with the fact that he loved, still loves, someone other than you? Even if that someone is dead, you're jealous, Kagaya taunts. Naruto grits his teeth in anger. Kaishiro met Haiti before he was even captured by the first Hokage. She and their kids died by Amon's hands a very long time ago. This all happened long before he met me, and I have no reason to be jealous. Kagaya shrugs. You're right, you have no reason to be jealous, but that doesn't mean that you aren't. Naruto kept silent. The guy looked at Naruto. Naruto, if you need to keep yourself in line during tomorrow's matches, then you have to find an outlet. Yaoru Biju Naruto, and rage will always be your first nature. The more you deny it, the more difficult it becomes. In Demon Country, among the ones you loved and trusted, it wasn't a problem, but here among those you hate, it's entirely different. You denying yourself will only lead to an explosion, so find an outlet or the non-violent image you're trying so hard to keep will be gone by tomorrow. Naruto nodded slightly. And don't worry about how possessive you feel about Kaishiro, it's just part of your nature, and I am sure Kaishiro understands it very well. Now leave me alone, I would like some peace and quiet. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the last line. The guy huffed, what? I am not capable of violence alone. Sure, Naruto said sarcastically as he exited his mindscape. Oh, and I have to say that I love what you did in the matches. I would preferred a little more blood and gore, but still I love what you did, Kagaya said as Naruto vanished from the mindscape. You were speaking with Kagaya? Kaishiro asked as soon as Naruto opened his eyes. Yes, Naruto stood up and went over to the mirror. How is she? Kaishiro asked. Much more sane than earlier, and we had quite a good conversation, Naruto huffed. Naruto looked at his reflection and watched as his eyes turned silver and then flickered back to its normal color. Kaishiro saw this as well. Are you having trouble with your control? Kaishiro sounded concerned, so Naruto gave him a reassuring smile. I am fine for now. You look like you have some news for me. Naruto tilted his head to the side. It seems that Tsunade is no longer the Hokage. Naruto raised an eyebrow in question and Kaishiro continued, explaining what Iruka and Tsubasa had said. So wo's the new Hokage? Who do you think it is? Naruto chuckles, Danzo, that old coot. He shakes his head. But then Naruto stops and smirks as an idea presents itself to him. I think I have found my outlet. Kaishiro was confused, outlet, what? Naruto just smirks as he walks onto Kaishiro and gives him a kiss before leaving the room. Kaishiro couldn't help but chuckle when his mate's thoughts were projected to him. Well, I guess Danzo won't be a problem anymore. Tsunade sat in her study thinking over what had happened earlier. She was no longer the Hokage of the village, of course, she could rejected the entire thing if she wanted to, and the daimyo would listen to her, but what those traitors didn't know was that she had been looking for a way out for some time now. It wasn't like she was a good leader or anything. Tsunade scoffed at the thought. She wondered not for the first time whether this was how Naruto felt when his friends and so-called precious people abandoned him, but Tsunade knew what he felt must have been 1,000 times greater than this. After these matches are over, she won't stay in this village a minute longer. She had a plan in mind. Danzo being the Hokage might cause some trouble, but Tsunade had the daimyo on her side, so she didn't have too much worry. She had no intention of fighting Naruto. She was going to forfeit. Even if there was the slightest chance that she might win, she wouldn't do it. Because her win meant that Naruto would lose and this wretched village would win. There was only one person who made the whole village worth it, and that person had been abandoned by the village. Now Naruto wanted nothing to do with the village, and Tsunade's only regret was that she hadn't understood him earlier. She had to talk to Naruto even if he never forgave her. She had to tell him how sorry she was. It would be a messy thing. She no longer had any delusions that Naruto would forgive her, but it had to be done. As she was lost in thought, her eyes fell on a book lying on the side table. Theory of Chakra Interaction by Najimi Amicus. She picked up the book. She remembered that this was the book she had specifically ordered from Demon Country, the latest edition, and the most accepted theory of how jutsu actually worked. She had never gotten around to reading it. She remembered the ninja lying in her hospital, no healing jutsu working on them despite hours and hours of effort. Maybe this book would help her. As Tsunade read each page, her eyes widened, then she chuckled, which soon turned into a full-blown laugh. Oh, Naruto, you sadistic brat. Danzo woke up in a dark room. No, it wasn't a room, it was just endless black space. His eyes narrowed. What is this? Behind the bandages his Sharingan eyes spun furiously, trying to dispel a Jinjutsu that just didn't exist. If not a Jinjutsu, then what is this place? I am not a fan of the whole monologue thing, so let's start, shall we? Danzo had no time to react to the disembodied voice before a fist buried itself in his gut with enough force to punch through a brick wall. Danzo coughed up blood and fell to his knees. Who? There was a put-out sigh from the darkness before Naruto's figure could be seen appearing out of the empty black space. You. Look, Danzo, as I already told you, I don't like wasting time with monologues, so let's just try to kill each other already, Naruto glared. Uzumaki, you will pay for this, blah blah blah. I know the whole spiel, so spare me, and I already know about your Sharingan eyes and Mokuton arm, so spare me the weak old man act as well. Danzo's eyes narrowed. I see. He stood up and straightened, looking like the punch earlier did not affect him any longer. Naruto smirked and felt a rush of excitement when the bandages fell away to reveal the stolen Sharingan eyes and the Mokuton arm. I am going to enjoy tearing them out one by one. Shisui's Mangekyo spun in Danzo's eye socket and Naruto scoffed at Danzo's attempt at hypnotizing him. Then Danzo disappeared from sight. Tsunade stood in front of Kayashiro with a glare. Kayashiro rolled his eyes at the woman's attempt at intimidating him, then sighed when Tsunade refused to take the hint that it wasn't working and kept on glaring at him. Senju-san, Naruto is not here, and as much as I would like to help you, I can't, I will not convince him to talk to you, because, the truth is that I despise you all for how you treated him. Tsunade winced at that. But I am not unreasonable, I genuinely think that you have changed, but if you want to talk to Naruto, it will be his decision. Tsunade turned thoughtful then after a moment of silence asked, do you know what he did to the other ninjas? I do. He took away their chakra. I know, Kayashiro said. Then he added when he saw her open her mouth to speak. And I won't tell you how he did it. Tsunade nodded without making a fuss. You're not surprised that I figured it out. Kayashiro scoffed, we both knew that if anyone figured it out, it would be you, Naruto will speak with you Tsunade, and I warn you not to waste the chance he gives you. Naruto knelt on the ground as Susanoo crushed down upon him. Danzo watched it all with a smirk, Naruto may have managed to overwhelm Danzo at first, but once Danzo released the heavy hitters, the foolish boy stood no chance. Danzo could see Naruto straining to not let the Susanoo crush him and laughed. You honestly thought that you could defeat me? Even after knowing about my secrets? Yeah, I really do, Naruto answered nonchalantly, as if the chakra specter wasn't trying to turn him into a bloody pancake. Danzo frowned, you are a fool, boy. So I have been told by many self-righteous assholes, Naruto looked up and winked when he met Danzo's eyes. Danzo growled and increased the power of his Susanoo, it was straining him too, but the sooner he ended this the better, Danzo thought. Naruto strained for a moment more before he suddenly relaxed and stood up and the Susanoo was pushed back by the unexpected power. Danzo with his Sharingan saw the chakra that enveloped the blonde all of a sudden and was confused and frustrated, so the boy had an ace up his sleeve. Naruto stretched languidly and looked at Danzo before punching straight through the Susanoo, and to Danzo's horror the Susanoo shattered and disappeared. How? I must say Danzo, I had thought that the first level would be enough for you, I didn't want it to be too easy for me after all, Naruto said, but you managed to push me to my second level, that's impressive, you should know. Level? Danzo asked cautiously. Naruto looked too carefree as if this wasn't a battle to death and somehow Danzo knew that to Naruto, this wasn't even a battle at all. I keep my powers locked in levels you know, and you just managed to push me past level 1. How many levels do you have? Danzo asked and wished he hadn't when he heard. 1,000. Then all Danzo knew was pain. Tsunade walked towards the stadium, there was still a few more hours before sunrise and she didn't know what to do with the time. She had already decided not to fight, at first it was because she didn't want to defeat Naruto, now she could admit that it was because she was afraid of her facing the same fate as those who fought Naruto before. What was a shinobi without chakra, even Lee, who prided in not using ninjutsu, indirectly depended on chakra. Tsunade had spent so many years in perfecting her skills that the loss of them sounded worse than death at the moment. She sighed when she recognized her teammate's chakra coming towards her. What were you doing with the Hokage? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya with narrowed eyes. I went to see Naruto. And? Tsunade rolled her eyes but went with the questioning anyway, because fighting sounded too exhausting right now, the tiredness wasn't physical and all she wanted was to rest. He wasn't there so I didn't get to see him. Tsunade. There was a warning in Jiraiya's voice, and Tsunade idly wondered when it had come to this between them. She was about to tell Jiraiya about what exactly Naruto did to the other shinobi, the information could be helpful, and besides, he was her former teammate after all. Then she sighed when she remembered what said former teammate had done for her earlier. Despite that, no shinobi deserved what Naruto would do to them tomorrow, so maybe she should tell him. Look Tsunade, I know about the soft spot you hold for Naruto, I mean, I do too, but what you're doing now is treason. That surprised Tsunade out of her thoughts, treason. What the hell did I do? Jiraiya glared at her as he spoke, I know you went there to warn him about Danzo's decision. No, I didn't. But Jiraiya wasn't listening, he had come to his own conclusions about her leaking all their plans to Naruto. That's what finally did it, it was a bit petty, but she had enough of this bullshit. Tsunade turned and walked away, Jiraiya would only know what Naruto could do after Naruto was done with him. How many lives do you have left Danzo? 1. Naruto asked from where he stood above a battered Danzo. Danzo was in no form to fight back, crumbled on the floor with every bone bent the wrong way. Naruto crouched next to Danzo, Danzo was growing a bit desperate when he understood that this might be the end of him. I am a cage if you kill me there will be. Already taken care of Danzo. You can't kill me. I am pretty sure it's not all that difficult. The scrolls. Naruto frowned slightly confused, what scrolls? Danzo swallowed. Maybe the demon will let him go if he offered the scrolls, the clan scrolls, all of them have been moved and only I know where they are and if you kill me. Naruto's eyes sparkled with mirth as he said, again I ask Danzo, what scrolls? Because your secret root facility and everything it contained is burning down to ashes as we speak. Danzo's eyes widened, you stole the scrolls. Naruto rolled his eyes at that, no, I burned them, do you really think I need them anyway? No, Danzo didn't think he'd need them because Naruto was a god in his own right and what would he need scrolls for, but if what he said was true, every clan scroll from the time of the Shadai was gone. Was this all about revenge? You didn't want anything other than revenge. Initially, no, then along the way if I got some payback, then no one can blame me, Naruto shrugged, my plans for Konoha never included this Danzo, this, he spread his arms, you all brought upon yourself. But that Naruto stood up and straightened his sleeves, which was unnecessary since he looked as pristine as ever. This will be the end, Danzo. Danzo nods, something like acceptance settling in his eyes, and Naruto admired that. Are you going to destroy the village? Naruto thought about it for a moment, the village. No, despite what you all think I am not that much of a monster. Danzo nodded and stood up for the final fight. Naruto arrived just in time for the matches to start, the stadium was already filled and the cage were also present, all except Danzo. Aishiro sat down at the cage area talking with Gaara. Where is Danzo? Jiraiya frowned, he should be here by now, something's wrong. I believe you are worrying unnecessarily, Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi said. Jiraiya shook his head, no Kakashi. Look there he is. Jiraiya looked up and saw Danzo enter the cage area. Thanks for watching.